that cause me will increase. Some when they see their own bloods, especially brave and steady, but some when they see the blood of others faint and fall unconscious. These reactions come from the mind being either steady or timid. Therefore, I should disregard harms caused to me and not be affected by suffering. Even when the wise are suffering, their minds remain very lucid and undefiled. When war is being waged against the disturbing conceptions, much harm is caused by the time of battle. Victorious warriors are those who, having disregarded all suffering, vanquish the foes of hatred, and so common warriors slay only purpose. Furthermore, suffering has good qualities. Through being disheartened with arrogance is dispelled. Passion arises for those in psychic existence. Negativity is shunned and joy is found in virtue. As I do not become angry with great sources of suffering such as jaundice, then why be angry with inanimate creatures? So they too are provoked by conditions. Although they are not wished for, these sicknesses arise, and likewise, although they are not wished for, these disturbing conceptions forcibly rise. Without thinking I shall be angry, people with anger no resistance. And without thinking I shall produce myself, likewise anger is produced. Mistakes that occur and all various kinds of wrongdoing arise through the force of conditions. They do not govern themselves. These conditions that assemble together have no intention to produce anything, and neither does their product have the intention to be produced. That which is asserted as primal substance and which is imputed as a self, since they are unproduced, do not arise after having purposefully thought, rise in order to cause harm. If they are unproduced and non-existent, then whatever wish they have to produce harm will also not exist. Since this self will permanently apprehend its object, it follows that it would never cease to do so. Furthermore, if the self were permanent, it would clearly be devoid of action like space. So even if met with other conditions, how could its unchanging nature, even if it acted upon by other conditions, it remains as before, thus what is due to it? Thus, if I say that this condition acts upon a permanent self, how could the two ever be causally related? Hence, everything is governed by other factors, which in turn are governed by, and in this way, nothing governs itself. Having understood this, I should not be angry with phenomena which are like apparitions. If everything is unreal like an apparition, then who is there to restrain? Surely in this case, restraint would be inappropriate. It would not be inappropriate because conventionally I must maintain dependence upon restraining anger, the stream of suffering is severed. So when one sees an enemy or even a friend committing an improper action, by thinking that such things arise from conditions, I shall remain in a happy frame. If things were brought into being by choice, then since no one wishes to suffer, suffering would not occur to any embodied creature. Through not being careful, people even harm themselves with thorns and other things, and for the sake of obtaining women and the like, they become obsessed and deprive themselves of. And there are some who injure themselves through the meritorious deeds of hanging themselves, leaping from eating poison and unhealthy food. If when under the influence of disturbing conceptions, people will even kill themselves, how can they be expected not to cause harm to the bodies of other living? Even if I cannot develop compassion for all such people who, through the arise of disturbing conception, set out to try and kill me and so forth, the last thing I should do is become angry with them. Even if were the nature of the child is to cause harm to other beings, it will still be incorrect to be angry with them, for this would be like begrudging fire for having the nature to burn. And even if the fault were temporary, no reliable, it would still be incorrect to be angry, for this would be like grudging space for allowing smoke to arise in it. If I become angry with the wielder, although I am actually harmed by this, then since the perpetrator too, secondary being in turn incited by hatred, should I be angry with the hatred in self? And cause a similar harm to other sentient beings, therefore it is right for this harm to be returned, cause injury to others. Both the weapon and my body are the cause of my, since the other gave rise to the weapon and I to the body, with whom should I be angry? If in blind attachment I cling to this suffering abscess of the human form, which cannot bear to be touched, I be angry when it is hurt. It is the fault of the childish that they are hurt, for although they do not wish to suffer, they are greatly attached to its causes, so why should they be angry at others? Just like the guardians of the hell worlds and the forest of razor-sharp leaves, so is this suffering produced by my actions, with whom therefore should I be angry? Having been instigated by my own actions, those who caused me harm come into being. By these actions they should fall into hell. Surely isn't it I am destroying them? In depending upon them, I purify many transgressions. by patiently accepting the harms that they cause. But in depending upon me, they will fall into hellish pain for a very long time. So since I am causing harm to them and they are benefiting, why, unruly mind, do you become angry in such a mistaken manner? If my mind has the noble quality of patience, I shall not go to hell. Although I am protecting myself in this way, how will it be so for them? Nevertheless, should I return the harm, it will not protect them either. By doing so, my conduct will deteriorate, and hence this fortitude will be destroyed. Since my mind is not physical, in no way can anyone destroy it, but through its being greatly attached to my body, it has caused harm, physical suffering. Since disrespect, harsh speech, and unpleasant words do not cause any harm to my body, why, mind, do you become angry? Because others will dislike me, but since it will not devour me, either in this or in another life, why do I not want this? Because it will hinder my. Even if I do not want this, I shall have to leave my worldly gains behind, and my wrongdoing alone remain unmanned. Thus it is better that I die today than live a long but wicked life. For even if people like me should live a long time, there will always be the suffering of death. Suppose someone should awaken from a dream in which they experience 100 years of happiness, and suppose another should waken from a dream in which they experience just one moment of happiness. For both of these people who have awoken, that happiness will never return. Similarly, whether my life has been long or short, at the time of death it will be finished like this. Although I live happily for a long time, although opening a great deal of material wealth, I go empty-handed, destitute, just like having been robbed by. Surely material wealth will enable me to live and to be able to consume transgressions and do good. But if I'm angry on account of it, will not my merit be consumed in transgressions? What use will be the life of one who only commits wrongdoing, if for the sake of material one causes the merits needed for life to generate? Surely I should be angry with those who say unpleasant things that weaken other beings' confidence in me. In that same way, why am I not angry with people who say unpleasant things about others? If I can patiently accept this lack of confidence because it is related to someone else, then why am I not patient unpleasant words about myself, since they are related to the arousing or disturbing conception? Should others talk badly or even destroy holy images, reliquaries, or the sacred Dharma, it is improper for me to resent it, for the Buddhas can never be injured. I should prevent anger arising towards those who injure my spiritual master, relatives, and friends. Instead, I should see in the manner shown before that such things arise from condition. Since embodied creatures are injured, both inanimate and inanimate objects, why only bear malice to the animate? It follows that I should patiently accept all harm. Should one person ignorantly do wrong and another ignorantly become angry with the wrongdoer, who will be at fault and who will be without fault? Why did I previously commit those actions? Others now cause me harm. Since everything is related to my actions, why should I bear malice towards these enemies? When I have seen this to be so, I should strive for what is meritorious, in order to certainly bring about loving thoughts between all. For example, when fire in one house is moved into another, it is right to get rid of straw and such things that will cause the fire to spread. Likewise, when the fire of hatred spreads to whatever my mind is attached, I should immediately get rid of it for fear of my merit being burned. Why is a person condemned to death not fortunate if they are released after having a hand cut off? Why am I experiencing human misery not fortunate if by that I am spared from the agonies of hell? If I am unable to endure even the mere sufferings of the present, then why do I not restrain myself from being angry, which will be the source of hellish misery? For the sake of satisfying my desires, I have suffered numerous burnings in hell, but by those actions I neither fulfilled the purpose of myself nor others. Yet now, since great many will accrue from harm which is not even a fraction of that, I should indeed be solely joyful towards such suffering that dispels the harms of all. Should someone else find joyous happiness in praising my enemy as an excellent person, why, mind is what praise them too. Likewise, make yourself happy. That joyous happiness of yours will be a source of joy, not something prohibited, precept given by the excellent ones and a supreme means for assembling others. It is said that others are made happy through being praised in this way. If in this way you do not want them to have this happiness, then since it makes them, you should cease giving wages and the like to yourself. However, you would be adversely affected both in this and future lives and qualities. I want others to be happy too, but when they describe the good qualities, I wish to be happy myself. Having generated the awakening mind through wishing all beings to be happy, Why should I become angry if they find some happiness themselves? But I wish for all sentient beings to become Buddhas worshipped throughout the three. Then why am I tormented when I see them receiving merely mundane respect? If a relative for whom I am caring and to whom I must give many things shall be able to find their livelihood, wouldn't I be happy rather than angry? If I do not wish for beings to have even this, how can I wish for them to awake? And where is there an awakening mind in one who becomes angry when others receive things? What does it matter? My enemy is given something or not, whether they obtain it or whether it remains in the benefactor's house. In either case, I should get nothing. So why, by becoming angry, do I throw away my merits, the faith others have in me, and my good qualities? Tell me why I'm not angry with myself for not having the causes for gain, let alone not having any remorse about the wrongs that you committed, O mind. Why do you wish to compete with others who have committed meritorious deeds? Even if your enemy is made unhappy, what is there for you to be joyful about? Your merely wishing for them to be hurt did not cause them to be injured. And even if the enemy does suffer as you had wished, what is there for you to be joyful about? If you say, for I shall be satisfied, how could there be anything more wretched than as cast by the fishermen of disturbing conceptions is unbearably sharp? Having been caught on it is certain that I shall be cooked cauldrons of the gardens of hell. The honor of praise and fame will not turn into merit or life. It will give me neither strength nor freedom from sickness and will not provide any physical happiness. If I were aware of what held meaning for me, that value would find in these things. All if I want is a little mental happiness, I should devote myself to gambling, drinking, and so. If for the sake of fame I give away my wealth or get myself killed, what the mere words of fame do then? Once I have died, to whom will they give pleasure? Sandcastles collapse when howl in despair. Likewise, with my praise and reputation, my mind becomes like a little child. Since short-lived sounds are inanimate, they cannot possibly think of praise. But as it makes the bestower of praise happy, my reputation is a source of pleasure for me. Whether this praise is directed at myself or someone else, how shall I be benefited by the joy of one who bestows it? Since that joy and happiness is alone, I shall not obtain even a part. If I do find happiness in their happiness, then surely I will feel the way towards all. And if this were so, then why am I unhappy? I find pleasure in that which brings them joy. Therefore, the happiness that arises from thinking I am being praised is invalid. It is only the behavior of a child. Praise and so forth distract me and also undermine my disillusion with psychic existence. I start to envy those who have good qualities, and all the very best is destroyed. Therefore, are not those who are closely involved in destroying my praise and the like also involved in protecting me from falling into the unfortunate? I, who am striving for freedom, do not need to be bound by material gain and honor. So why would I be angry with those who freed me from this bondage? Those who wish to cause me suffering are like Buddhas bestowing waves of bliss. As they open the door of my going to an unfortunate realm, why should I be angry with them? But if someone should obstruct my gaining merit, with them too is incorrect to be angry, for since there is no fortitude similar to, surely I should put it into practice. If due to my own failings I am not patient with this enemy, then it is only I am preventing myself from practicing this cause for gaining merit. If without it something does not occur, if with it does come to be, then since this enemy will be the cause of, how can I say that the enemy prevents it? A beggar is not any obstacle of generosity. When I'm giving away give ordination are an obstacle to becoming ordained. There isn't many beggars in this world, but scarce those who inflict harm. For if I have not injured others, few beings would cause me harm. Therefore, just like treasure appearing in my house without any effort on my part to obtain, I should be happy for I have enemies, for they assist me in the conduct of awakening. I'm able to practice patience with them. They are worthy of being given very first fruits of my patience, for in this way they are the cause of. But why should my enemy be venerated, who has no intention for me to practice patience? Why venerate the sacred Dharma? It too has no intention, but its fit cause for practice. Surely my enemies are not to be venerated, for they intend to cause me. But how could patience be practiced if, like doctors, people always strove to do me good? Thus, since patient acceptance is produced in dependence upon with that person should be worthy of veneration, just like the sacred Dharma, because they are a cause of patience. Therefore, the Mighty One has said that the field of sentient beings is similar to a Buddha, for many who have pleased them have thereby reached perfection. A Buddha's qualities are gained from the sentient beings and the conquerors alike. So why do I not respect them in the same way as I respect the conquerors? Of course, they are not similar to the quality of their intentions, but only in the fruits that they produce. So it is in the respect that they have excellent qualities and are therefore said to be equal. Whatever merit comes from of loving mind is due to the eminence of sentient beings, and in the same way the merit of having faith in Buddha is due to the eminence of Buddha. Therefore they are asserted to be equal in the share they have in establishing Buddha quality. Yet none of them are equal in good qualities with the Buddhas who are boundless oceans of excellence. Even in the three realms were offered, it would be insufficient in paying veneration to those few beings in whom share merit good qualities of the unique assemblage of excellence appear. Thus, since sentient beings have a share in giving rise to the supreme Buddha quality, surely it is correct to venerate them as they are similar in merely this respect. Furthermore, what way is there to repay the Buddhas who grant immeasurable benefit and who befriend the world with pretension other than by pleasing sentient beings? Therefore, since benefiting these beings will repay those who give their body into deepest hell for their sake, I shall behave impeccably in all that I do, if they cause me a great deal of harm. When for their sake those who are my lords have no regard even for their own body, then why am I the fool so full of importance, and why do I not act like a servant towards them? Because of their happiness the conquerors I delight. However, if they are harmed by the conquerors I displease. Hence, by pleasing them I shall delight the conquerors, and by harming them I shall hurt them. Just as the desirable sense objects would give my mind no pleasure if my body was ablaze with fire, likewise when living beings are in pain, there is no way for compassionate ones to be pleased. Therefore, as I have caused harm to living beings, today I open all my unwholesome acts that have brought displeasure to the compassion. Please bear with me, O lords, for this displeasure I have caused you. From now on, in order to delight the Tathagatas, I shall serve the universe who definitely cease to cause harm. Although many beings may kick and stamp upon my head, even the risk of dying, may I delight in the protectors of the world by not retaliating. There is no doubt that those with the nature of compassion regard all these beings the same as. Furthermore, those who see this Buddha nature as the nature of sentient beings also see Buddhas themselves. Why then do I not respect sentient beings? Living beings delights the Tathagatas and perfectly accomplishes my own purpose as well. In addition, dispels the pain and misery of the universe. Therefore, I should always practice it. For example, should some of the king's men cause harm to many, far-sighted ones would not return the harm, even if they were able to do so. For they see that those men are not alone, but are supported by the might of the king. Likewise, I should not underestimate weak beings who cause me little harm, for they are supported by the guardians of hell and by all the compassionate. So behaving like subjects of that king, I should please all sentient beings. Even if such a king were to become angry, could cause the pain of hell, which is the fruit I would have to experience by displeasing sentient beings. And even if such a king were to be kind, he would not possibly grant me Buddhahood, which is the fruit I would obtain by pleasing sentient beings. Why do I not see that my future attainment of Buddhahood, as well as glory, renown, in this life, all become from pleasing sentient beings? When psychic existence, patience causes beauty, health, and renown. Because of these, I shall live for a very long time and win the extensive pleasure of the universal chakra kings. Chapter 7, Enthusiasm. Having patience, I should develop enthusiasm, for awakening will dwell only in those who exert themselves. Just as there is no movement without wind, so merit does not occur without enthusiasm. What is enthusiasm? It is finding joy in what is wholesome. Its opposing factors are explained as laziness, attraction to what is harmful, despising oneself out of despondency, because of attachment to the pleasurable state of idleness, because of craving for, and because of having no disillusion with the psychic laziness grows enmeshed in the snare of disturbing conceptions. I have entered the snare of birth. Why am I still not aware that I live in the mouth of the Lord of Death? Do I not see that he is systematically slaughtering my species? Whoever remains soundless should behaves like a buffalo with a butcher. When having blocked off every escape route, the Lord of Death is looking for someone to. How can I enjoy eating, and likewise, how can I enjoy? As long as death is actually approaching, then I shall accumulate merits, and even if then I put a stop to lace, what will be the use? This is not the time. When this has not been done, the being done, and when it's only half finished, suddenly the Lord of Death will come, and the thought will occur, oh no, I am done for. Their faces flowing with tears, and their eyes red and swollen with My relatives will finally lose hope, and I shall behold the vision of the messengers of death, tormented by the memory of my wrongdoing and hearing the sounds of hell. In terror I shall clothe my body in extra. What virtue can I do in such a delirious state? If even in this life I'll be gripped with fear, like the living emotion, the unbearable agonies of hell that will result from my unwholesome deeds. How can I remain at ease like this when I have committed the actions that will bear fruit? My delicate infant's body encountering boiling acids in the hell of torment. A time befalls those with little forbearance and those who want results without making any. While clasped by death, they shall cry like the gods, come by misery, relying upon the boat of a human body, free yourself from the great river. As it is hard to find this boat again, there's no time for sleep, you fool. Having rejected the supreme joy of the Dharma, which is a boundless source of delight, why am I distracted by the causes for pain, and why do I enjoy frivolous amusements like without indulging in despondency, I should gather the supports for enthusiasm, earnestly take control of myself. Then by seeing the equality between self and others, I should practice exchanging self for others. I should never indulge in despondency by entertaining such thoughts as are ever awakened, for the Tathagata who speaketh true have uttered this truth. If they develop the strength of their exertion, those who are flies, mosquitoes, bees, will win the unsurpassable awakening, which is so hard to find. It will be so if I do not forsake the Bodhisattva's way of life. Why should someone who has been born in the human race not attain awakening, since I am able to recognize what is beneficial and what is of harm? Nevertheless, it frightens me to think that I may have to give away my arms and legs. Without discriminating between what is heavy and what is light, I am reduced to fear through confusion. For over countless myriads of eons, I have been cut, stabbed, burned, flayed alive innumerable times, but I have not awakened. Yet the suffering involved in my awakening will have limits. It is like the suffering of having an incision made in order to remove and destroy greater pain. Even doctors eliminate illness with unpleasant medical treatment. So in order to overcome manifold sufferings, I should be able to put up with some discomfort. Yet the Supreme Physician does not employ common medical treatments such as these. With an extremely gentle technique, he remedies all greatest ills. The beginning, the guide of the world, encourages the giving of such things as food. Later, when accustomed to this, one may progressively start to give away even one's flesh. At such time, when my mind is developed to the point of regarding my body like food, then what hardship would there be when it came to giving away my flesh? Having forsaken all transgression, there will be no suffering, and due to wisdom, there will be no lack of joy. But now my mind is afflicted by mistaken conception, and my body is caused harm by unwholesome deeds. As their bodies are happy due to their merits, and their minds are happy due to their wisdom, even if they remain in psychic existence for the sake, why would the compassionate ones ever be upset? Due to the strength of the awakening mind, the Bodhisattvas consume their previous transgression and harvest the ocean of merit, since they are excelled. So having mounted the horse of an awakening mind that diswells encouragement and weary, who, when they know of this mind that proceeds from joy to joy, would ever lapse into despondency? The supports when working for the sake of living beings are aspiration, steadfastness, joy, and rest. Aspiration is developed through the fear of misery and by contemplating the benefits of aspiration itself. Thus, in order to increase my enthusiasm, I should strive to abandon its opposing, to amass the supports of aspiration, self-confidence, joy, and rest, to practice in earnest and become strong. I shall have to overcome the boundless faults in myself and others, and in order to destroy each of these faults alone, I may have to strive until an ocean of eons is exhausted. Yet if within myself I do not perceive even a fraction of the perseverance required to exhaust these faults, then why do I not have a heart attack? For now I have become an abode for infinite misery. Likewise, I shall have to realize many excellent qualities for myself and others, and in order to attain each of these qualities alone, I may have to acquaint myself with its until an ocean of eons is exhausted. However, I have never developed acquaintance with even a fraction of these excellence. How strange it is to squander this birth I have found by some coincidence. I have not made offerings to the Lord Buddhas. I have not given the pleasure of great festivals. I have not performed actions for the teachings. I have not fulfilled the wishes of the poor. I have not granted fearlessness to the frightened. I have not given happiness to the, and I have given rise to is the agonies in the mother's womb and to suffer. Now, in previous lives, such deprivation has arisen because of my lack of aspiring for the. Who would ever reject this aspiring for the Dharma? The mighty one himself has said, aspiration is the root of every facet of virtue. Its root is constant acquaintance with the ripening effects of action. physical pain, mental unhappiness, and all the various kinds of fear, as well as separation from what is just all arise from an unwholesome way of life. However, by committing these wholesome actions and motivated by aspiration, that wherever I go, I shall be presented with tokens of the fruit of that merit. Yet by committing negative actions, although I may wish for happiness, wherever I go, I shall be completely overcome by weapons of pain caused by my wrongful life. As a result of virtue, I shall dwell in the spacious, fragrant, cool heart of a lotus flower. My radiance will be nourished by the food of the conqueror's sweet speech. My glorious form will be sprung forward by mighty one's light, and as a bodhisattva, I shall abide in the presence of the conquerors. However, as a result of non-virtue, my skin will be ripped off by the henchmen of Yama. In this feeble state, liquid copper melted by tremendous heat will be poured into my body. Pierced by flaming swords and daggers, my flesh will be cut into 100 pieces, and I shall tumble in fiercely burning iron ground. Therefore I should aspire for virtue, and with great respect acquaint myself with it, having undertaken the wholesome, the manner of proceed to acquaint myself with self-confidence. First of all, I should examine well what is to be done, to see whether I can pursue it or cannot undertake it. If I am unable, it is best to leave it, but once I have started, I must not withdraw. If I do, then this habit will continue in other lives, and wrongdoing, misery will increase. Also, other actions done at the time of its fruition will be weak and will not be accomplished. Self-confidence should be applied to wholesome action, the overcoming of disturbing conceptions of my ability to do. Thinking I alone shall do it, it is the self-confidence of action. Powerless, their minds disturbed, people in this world are unable to benefit themselves. Therefore I shall do it for them, since unlike me, these beings are incapable. Even if others are doing inferior tasks, why should I sit here doing nothing? I do not do those tasks because of self-importance. It would be best for me to have no such pride. When crows encounter a dying snake, they will act as though they were eagles. Likewise, if my self-confidence is weak, I shall be injured by the slightest. How can those who out of faint-heartedness have been given up trying to find liberation because of this deficiency, even the great obstacle, find it hard to overcome one with a firm mind? Therefore, with a steady mind, I shall overcome all falls, for if I am defeated by my wish to vanquish the three realms, will become a joke. I will conquer everything, and nothing at all shall conquer me. I, a child of the lion-like conqueror, should remain self-confident in this way. Whoever self-importance is destroyed by it is disturbed as no self-confidence, for those whose self-confidence do not succumb to the power of the enemy, whereas the former and underway sway of the enemy of self-importance, inflated by the disturbing conception of my self-importance, I shall be led to his lower realms. It destroys the joyous festival of being human, become a slave, eating the food of others. Stupid, ugly, feeble, and everywhere disrespected, tough people bloated by conceit are all counted among the self-important. Tell me what is more pathetic. Whoever seizes self-confidence in order to conquer the enemy of self-importance, why they've one's the victorious heroes, and in addition, whoever definitely conquers the spread of this enemy self-importance, completely wins the fruit of a conqueror, fulfilling the wishes of the world. If I find myself amidst a crowd of disturbing, I shall endure them in 1,000 ways, like a lion among foxes, affected by the disturbing hope. Just men guard their eyes where great danger and turmoil occur. Likewise, I shall never be swayed by the disturbances within my mind, even at times of great strife. It would be better for me to be burned, to have my head cut off, and to be killed, rather than ever bowing down to those ever-present disturbing conceptions. So likewise, in all situations, I should do nothing other than what is fit. Just like those who yearn for the fruits of play, bodhisattvas are attracted to whatever task they make. They never have enough, it only brings them joy. Although people work in order to be happy, it is uncertain whether or not they will find it. But how can those who work itself with joy find happiness unless they do it? If I feel that I never enough essential objects for me by the razor's edge, then why should I ever feel that I have enough merit which ripens in happiness and peace? Thus, in order to complete this task, I shall venture into it. Elephant tormented by the midday sun plunges into a cool, refreshing lake. When my strength declines, I should leave whatever I'm doing in order to be able to continue with it later. Having done something well, I shall put it aside with the wish to accomplish what will follow. Just as an old warrior approaches the sword of an enemy on the battlefront, I shall avoid the weapons of disturbing conceptions and skillfully bind this enemy. If someone dropped a sword during a battle, if they would immediately pick it up out of fear. Likewise, if I lose a weapon of mindfulness, I should quickly retrieve it, being afraid of hell. Just as poison spreads throughout the body in dependence upon the circulation. Likewise, if disturbing conception finds an opportunity, unsomeness will permeate my mind. Those who practice should be as attentive as a frightened man carrying a jar full of mustard oil, who's being threatened by someone with a sword and told that he'll be killed if he spills just one drop. Just as I would swiftly stand up if a snake came into. Likewise, if any sleep or laziness occurs, I shall quickly turn it back. Each time something unwholesome occurs, I should criticize myself and then contemplate that I shall never let this happen again. Likewise, in all these centuries, to hate myself with mindfulness, motivation as a cause, I shall aspire to meet with teachers or accomplish tasks they assign to me. In order to have strength for everything, I should recall before undertaking any action, advice in the chapter on conscientious, and then joyfully rise to the task. Just as the wind blowing back and forth controls the movement of a piece, so shall I be controlled by joy, and in this way accomplish everything. Chapter 8, Meditation. Having developed enthusiasm in this way, I should place my mind and concentrate. The person whose mind is distracted dwells between the fangs of disturbing conception. However, through solitude of body and mind, no distractions will occur. Therefore, I should forsake the worldly life and completely discard distorted conception. Worldly life is not forsaken because of attachment to and due to craving for material gain and the like. Therefore, I should entirely forsake these things, for this is the way in which the wise behave. Having understood that disturbing conceptions are completely overcome by superior endowed with calm abiding, first of all, I should search for calm abiding, achieved through the genuine joy of those unattached to worldly life. Because of the accession one transient being has, they will not see their beloved ones again for many thousand. Not seeing them, I am unhappy, and my mind cannot be settled in equipoise. Even if I see them, there is no satisfaction. Before I am tormented by being attached to living beings and completely obscure from the perfect real. My disillusionment with psychic existence perishes, and in the end I am tortured by sorrow. By thinking only of them, this life will pass without. Furthermore, permanent friends and relatives will even destroy the Dharma, which leads to permanent liberation. If I behave in the same way as the childish, I shall certainly proceed to lower realm. And if I am led there by those unequal to the noble ones, what is the use of entrusting myself to the childish? One moment they are friends, and in the next instant they become enemies. Since they become angry even in joyful situations, it is difficult to please ordinary people. They are angry when something of benefit is said, and they also turn me away from what is beneficial. If I do not listen to what they say, they become angry and hence proceed to lower realms. They are envious of superiors, competitive with equals, arrogant towards inferiors, conceited when, and if anything unpleasant is said, they become angry. Never is benefit derived from the childish. Through associating with the childish, there will certainly ensue achievements, such as praising myself, belittling others, and discussing the joys of psychic existence. Devoting myself to others in this way will bring about nothing but misfortune, because they will not benefit me, shall not benefit them. I should flee far away from childish people, and when they are encountered, though, I should please them by being happy. Behave well merely out of courtesy, but not become greatly familiar. In the same way as a bee takes honey from a flower, I should take merely what is necessary for the practice, but remain unfamiliar, as though I have never seen them before. I have much material wealth as well as honor, and many people like me, nurturing self. In this way, I should be made terrified after death. So you thoroughly confuse mind, the piling up of whatever objects you are attached. Misery 1,000-fold will ensue. Hence the wise should not be attached, because fear is born. And the firm mind understand well that is the nature of these things to be discarded. Although I may have much material wealth, be famous and wealthful, whatever fame and renown I have amassed has no power to accompany me after death. If there is someone who despises me, what pleasure can I have in being praised? And if there is another who praises me, what displeasure of being despised? If a conqueror was unable to please the various inclinations of different, then what need to mention a malicious person such as I? Therefore, I should give up the intention to associate with the worldly, scorn those who have no material gain, and say bad things to those, and they, to get along with, ever derive any pleasure from me. It has been said by the Tathagatas that one should not befriend a child, because unless they get their own way, the child are never happy. Come to forests amongst the deer, the birds, and the trees, that say nothing unpleasant and are delightful to associate with. When dwelling in caves, in empty shrines, and at the feet of trees, never look back, cultivate detachment. When shall I come to dwell in places not clung to as mine, which are by nature wide and open, and where may I behave as I wish without attachment? I should come to live without fear, just as a begging bowl and a few odd things, wearing clothes not wanted by anyone, and not having to hide this body. Having departed to the cemeteries, and when I come to understand that this body of mine and the skeletons of others are equal in being subject to decay. Odor, not even the foxes will come to close body of mine, for this is what will become of it. Although this body arose as one thing, the bones and flesh which is created will break up and separate. How much more so will friends and others? At birth I was born alone, and this pain cannot be shared by others. What are the obstacle making friends? In the same way as travelers on a highway leave one place and reach another, likewise those traveling on the path of condition exists leave one birth and reach another, until the time comes for this body to be supported by 4 pallbearers, while the worldly stand around stricken with grief. Until then I shall retire to the forest, befriending no one and begrudging no one. My body will dwell alone in solitude. If I am already counted as a dead man, when I die there will be no mourners. And as there will be no one around to disturb me with their mourning, thus there will be no one to distract from my recollection of the Buddha. Therefore I shall dwell alone, happy and contented with few difficulties, in very joyful and beautiful forests, pacifying all distractions. Having given up their intentions, being motivated by only one, I shall strive to settle my mind in equipoise, means of karma, and to steer it with superior. For this world and the next, desire gives rise to great misfortune. In this life, killing, bondage, and flaying, in the next, and the existence of hells. For the sake of women, many requests are first of all made through go-betweens. All forms of transgression and even notoriety are not avoided for the sake. I engage with them and will consume my wealth. But these very bodies of theirs, which I greatly enjoy, the sexual embrace. Other than skeletons, they're not autonomous and are identitylessness, rather than being desirous. Lift to a veil, and when it was raised, she bashfully, thank you. Whether anyone looked or not, her face was covered with a cloth. Is being revealed to me by the vulture. Previously, I completely protected her body when others cast their eyes upon. Why, miser, do you not protect it now while it's being devoured? And vultures and others are eating this pile of meat that I behold. Why did I offer flower garlands, sandalwood, and ornament to that which is now the food of others? If I am frightened by the skeletons I see, even though they now do not move, why am I not frightened by walking corpses which are moved around by few impulses? Although I'm attached to it when others not desire it when it's uncovered. Since I have no need for it, then why copulate with it when it's covered? Since both excrement and saliva arise solely from food, why do I dislike excrement and find joy in saliva? Cotton too is soft to the touch, but while I find no sexual delight in a pillow, I think that a woman's body does not emit a putrid odor. Lustful one, you are confused by what is unclean, thinking that they cannot sleep with this cotton, although it is soft to the touch. Confused, negative, and lustful, become angry towards it instead. If I am not attached to what is unclean, then why do I copulate with the lower parts of other body, which are merely cages of bones tied together with muscles plastered over with mud and flesh? Myself contain many unclean things, which I constantly have no experience. So why, because of an obsession for uncleanness, do I desire bags of filth? But it is the flesh that I enjoy. If this is what I wish to touch and behold, why do I not desire in its natural state, devoid of any mind? Furthermore, any mind that I may desire it unable to be touched or beheld, and wherever I'm able to touch will not be mental. So why indulge in this meaningless copulation? It is not so strange that I do not understand the body to be an unclean nature, but it is indeed strange that I do not understand my very own body to be the nature of unclean. Having forsaken the young lotus flower unfolded by a beam of sunlight free from, why with a mind craving for what is unclean do I reveal a critical? Since I do not wish to touch a place that is smeared with excrement, then why do I wish to touch the body from which that excrement? If I am not attached to what is unclean, why do I copulate with the lower parts of others' bodies which arise from the unclean field of a womb and are produced for the seeds within it? I have no wish for a small dirty maggot which come from parlor fill. So why do I desire this body by which nature is grossly unclean, what too is produced by filth? Not only do I not disparage the uncleanness of my own body, but because of an obsession for what is unclean, I desire other bags of filth as well. Even attractive things such as unsavory foods, cooked rice and vegetables, make the ground dirty, and should they be spat out in the mouth? Although such uncleanness is obvious, I still have doubts I should go to the cemeteries. and look at the unclean bodies of others, so that they've been thrown away there. Having realized that with their skin is rent open, they will give rise to a great deal of how will such things as these ever gain right to joy? The sense with which someone's body is anointed in a sandalwood and the like, but not that of the other's body. So why am I attached to other bodies? Because of sense that they are theirs. Since the body has a naturally foul odor, isn't it good to be unattached to it? Why do those who crave for the meaningless things of the world anoint this body? And furthermore, if it is pleasant scent of sandalwood, how can it come from the body? Why am I attached to others? Because of scents that are other than theirs. Since a naked body left in this natural place is very frightening due to his long hair and nails, yellowish foul-smelling teeth, and it being coated with the odor of dirt. Why do I make such an effort to polish it, like cleaning a weapon that will cause me harm? Hence, this entire world is disturbed with insanity due to the views about themselves. When my mind rises above worldly concerns, through having been held like skeletons in the cemetery, will there be any joy in the graveyard cities which are filled with moving skeletons? Furthermore, these unclean female bodies are not found without paying a price. In order to obtain them, I exhaust myself, and in the future will be injured in the hells. As a child, I am able to increase my wealth, and as a youth, will do be afforded away. And at the end of life, of the wealth, being an old man, what good will sex be then? Some malicious and lustful people wear themselves out by working all, and when they return home in the evening, their exhausted bodies lie prostrate like corpses. Some have the suffering of being disturbed with travel and having to go a long way from home. Although they long for their spouses, they do not see them for years at a time. Some who wish for benefit due to confusion even sell themselves for the sake of women and the like. But not attaining what they wish, they are aimlessly driven by the winds of others' actions. Some sell their own bodies and without any power employed. Even when their wives give birth, their children fall at the feet of trees and in lonely places. Some fools who are deceived by desire and wishing for a livelihood think I shall earn my living. And then, although afraid of losing their lives, they go to war and become slaves for the sake of profit. Some lustful people even cut their bodies, others impale themselves with points of sticks. Some stab themselves with daggers and others burn themselves. Such things as these are quite apparent. Due to the torment involved in collecting it, protecting, and finally losing it, I realize wealth to be fraught with infinite problems. Those who are distracted by their attachment to it have no opportunity to gain freedom from conditioned existence. In the same way as animals drawing carriages are only able to eat a few mouthfuls of grass, likewise desirous people have many disadvantages such as ease and little profit. And since even animals can retain this little profit, those who are pained by their previous action waste these leisures and endowments so difficult to find for the sake of something trivial that is not so scarce. The objects to desire will certainly perish, and then I will fall into hellish. However, Buddhahood itself is attained with just a millionth of difficulty, involved in continually exhausting myself for the sake of what is not very great. Hence, a desirous experience greater misery than those following the awakening way of life. Them there is no awakening. When one has contemplated the miseries of hell, it will be clear that there is nothing comparable caused by desirous beings, even by weapons, poisons, fire, ravines, and foes. Having in this way developed disillusionment with desire, I should generate joy for solitude. The fortunate ones stroll in peaceful forests, devoid of disputes and disturbing conception. They live in joyful houses, cooled by the sandal scent of moonlight, fanned by the peaceful, silent forest breeze, thinking of what is a benefit for others. Living as they choose, desireless, having no ties with anyone, even the powerful having difficulty finding his life happy and content to exist. Having in such ways as these thought about the excellence of solitude, I should completely pacify distorted concept and meditate on the awakening mind. First of all, I should make an effort to meditate upon the equality between myself and others. I should protect all beings as I do myself, because we are all equal in wanting pleasure and not wanting pain. Although there are many different parts and aspects as a hand, as a body is to be protected, they are one. Likewise, all the different sentient beings in their pleasure and they have wished to be happy and the same as mine. The suffering that I experience does not cause any harm to others, but the suffering is mine because of my conceiving myself as I. Thereby it becomes unbearable. Likewise, the misery of others does not befall me. Nevertheless, by conceiving others as I, their suffering becomes. Therefore, it too should be hard. As I should dispel the misery of others because it is suffering just like my own, and it should benefit others because they are sentient beings just like myself. Both myself and others are similar in that wish to be happy. What is so special about me? Why do I strive for my happiness alone? And when both myself and others are similar and we wish to suffer, why is it special about me? Why do I protect myself and not others? Why should I protect them in their suffering? Does not cause me any harm. When I protect myself against suffering, it causes me no harm now. It is a mistaken conception to think that I shall experience the suffering of my next life, for it is another person who dies and another that will be born. Surely, whatever sufferers must protect themselves from it, yet the suffering of the foot is that of the hand, and does one protect the other. Although this may not be justified, it is done because of grasping itself. Surely, whatever is not justified for myself or others should at all costs be rejected. Such things as a continuum and aggregation are false in the same way as the prayer beads are. There is no real owner of suffering, therefore, who has control. There being no inherent owner of suffering, there can be no distinction at all between that, myself, and others. Thus, I shall dispel what it causes hurt. Why am I to eliminate the suffering of others? But since neither the suffering nor the sufferer truly exist, why should I turn away the misery of all? This is no ground for argument, for if I prevent my own suffering, surely I should prevent the sufferings of all. If not, since I am like other sentient beings, I should not prevent my own suffering either. Since this compassion will bring me such misery, I should exert myself to develop. Should I contemplate the suffering of living creatures, how could the misery of compassion be more? If by one person suffering, the suffering of many would be destroyed, surely kind-hearted people would accept it for the sake of themselves and others. The Bodhisattva Pushpa Chandra, beware of the harm the king would cause, accepted his own suffering in order to eradicate the misery of many. Thus, because they love to pacify the pains of others, those whose minds are attuned in this would enter the deepest hell, just as a wild goose plunges into a lotus pool. The ocean of joy that shall exist when all beings are free be sufficient for me. What am I doing, wishing for my liberation alone? Therefore, although working for the benefit of others, I should not be conceited or consider myself wonderful. And because of the joy there is in doing this, I should have no hope for any ripening effect. Just as I protect myself from the unpleasant things, however small, in the same way I should act towards others. Passionate mind, care mind. Although the basis is quite impersonal through constant familiarity, I have come to regard the drops of sperm and blood as others as I. So in the same way, why should I be unable to regard the bodies of others as I? Hence it is not difficult to see that my body is also that of others. Having seen the mistakes in cherishing myself and the ocean of good in cherish, I should completely reject all selfishness and accustom myself to accepting others. In the same way as the hands and so forth is regarded as limbs of the body, likewise were embodied creatures not regarded as limbs of life. Hence the thought I arisen towards this impersonal body. So in a similar way, why should it not arise toward other living beings? When I work in this way for the sake of others, should I not let conceit or the feeling that I am wonderful arise? It's just like feeding myself. I hope for nothing in return. Therefore, just as I protect myself from unpleasant, however slight, in the same way I should be compassionate and caring mind towards others. It is out of his great compassion that the Lord Avakashvara and even bless his name, dispel the nervousness of being among other people. I should not turn away from what is difficult, for the power of my unhappy even when someone whose name has frightened me is not around. Thus, whoever wishes to quickly afford protection both for self and other beings should practice that holy exchanging yourself for others. Because of attachment to my body and even a small object of fear frightens. So who would not revile as an enemy the body that gives rise to fear? By wishing for a means to remedy the hunger, thirst, and sickness of the body, I might kill birds, fish, deer, and loiter by the sides of roads to rob others. If for the sake of its profit and comfort, I will kill even my father and mother, steal the property of the triple gem, that I will undoubtedly proceed to burn in the flames of the deepest hell. Therefore, what adept would desire, protect, and venerate this body? Who would not scorn it as an enemy? If I give this, what shall I have left to enjoy? Such selfish thinking, the way of ghosts. If I enjoy this, what shall I have left to do? Give such thinking the quality of gods. If for my own sake I cause harm to others, but if for the sake of others I cause harm to others, I should acquire all that is magnificent by holding myself in high esteem. For my own purposes, but if I use myself for the sake of others, I should experience only lordliness. Whatever joy there is in this world, all comes from desiring others to be happy, and whatever suffering there is in this, all comes from desiring us. What need is there to say much more? The childish work for their own benefit, the Buddha's work for the benefit of others. Just look at the difference between. If I do not actually exchange my happiness for the sufferings of, I shall not attain the state of Buddhahood, and even in psych-existence shall have no joy, let alone what is beyond this world, because my servants do no work, because my masters give me no pay, even the needs of this life will not be fulfilled. By rejecting the method that establishes a foreseeable and unforeseeable joy, I cast magnificent delight completely aside, and then because run others in confusion, I seize hold of the unbearable pain. If all the injury, fear, and pain in the world arise from grasping at a self, then what use the great ghost to me? If I do not completely forsake it, I shall be unable to put an end to suffering, just as I cannot avoid being burned, also cast away the fire I hold. Therefore, in order to allay the harms inflicted upon, in order to pacify the sufferings of others, I shall give myself up to and cherish them as I do my very self. Whole of others of this mind you must be certain now, expect for benefiting every creature, you must not think of anything else. For my sake I should not do anything with these eyes and so forth, which I have left at the disposal of others. It is quite incorrect to do anything with them which is contrary to the benefit of others. Thus sentient beings should be my main concern. Whatever I behold upon my body I should rob and use for the benefit of others, considering lesser beings and so forth as myself, and considering myself as the other. In the following way, I should meditate upon every competitiveness and self-importance, mind free of disorder. He is honored, but I am not. I have not found wealth such as he. He is praised, but I am despised. He is happy, but I suffer. I have to do all the work, but he remains comfortably at rest. He is renowned as great in the world. I as inferior with no qualities at all. But what do you mean? I have no good qualities. I have all good qualities. Compared to many, he is inferior. Compared to many, I am high. The deteriorated state of my morals and views is not due to me, but due to my disturbing conception. In whatever way he is able, he should heal me. Willingly, I shall accept any discomfort involved. But I am not being healed by him, so does he belittle me. What use is good qualities to me? Although he has good qualities, he does not benefit me. With no compassion for the beings who dwell in the poisonous mouth of harmful. Externally, he is proud of his good qualities and wishes to put down. In order that I may excel, he who is regarded as equal with me, I shall definitely strive to attain material gain and honor for myself, even by such means as verbal dispute. By all means, I shall make clear to the entire world all the good qualities I have, but I shall not let anyone hear of any good qualities he may have. Also shall hide all my faults, and I'll be venerated, but not he. Will find a great deal of material gain. I'll be honored, but he shall not. For a long time I shall look with pleasure at this being made inferior. He will become the laughing stock, regarded as among everyone as an object of scorn and derision. It is said that the deluded one is trying to compete with me, but how can he be equal with me in any intelligence, form, class, or wealth? Thus, upon hearing my good qualities that have been made well known to me, enjoy the satisfaction of the pleasing, tingling sensation that occurs. Even though he has some possessions, if he is working for, I shall give him just enough to live on, and by force I'll take the rest. This happiness and comfort will decline, and I shall always cause him harm. Hundreds of times in this cycle of rebirth, he has caused harm to me. Because of desiring to benefit yourself, O mind, or weariness you have gone through, past eons has only succeeded in achieving misery. Therefore, I shall definitely engage myself in working for the benefit of a. Since the words of the Mighty One are infallible, I shall behold its advantages in the future. If in the past I had practiced this act of exchanging self for a situation such as this, devoid of the magnificence of bliss of Buddha, could not possibly have come about. Therefore, just as I have come to hold as I these drops of sperm and blood of others, likewise through acquaintance I should also come to regard all others. Having thoroughly examined myself to see whether I am really working for others or not, I shall steal whatever appears on my body and use it for the benefit of others. I am happy, but others are sad, and I am high through others are low. I benefit myself, but not others. Why am I not envious of myself? I must separate myself from happiness and take upon myself the suffering of others. Why am I doing this now? In this way I should examine myself for faults. Although others may do something wrong, I should transform it into the fault of my own. But should I do something even slightly wrong, I shall openly admit it to many people. By further describing the renown of others, I should make it outshine my own, just like the lowest kind. I should employ myself for the benefit of all. I should not praise my naturally fault-ridden self for some temporary good quality it may have. I should never let even a few people know of any good qualities I may possess. Brief for the sake of living creatures, may all the harms I've selfishly caused to others descend upon myself. I should not be dominating and aggressive, acting in self-righteous, arrogant way. Instead, a newly married bride, I should be bashful, timid, and restrained. Thus, O mind, you should think and abide in this way, and not act selfishly as before. If under the control of self-cherishing you transgress this, your selfishness will be your end. However, mind, although you have been advised, if you do not act in like manner, then since all misfortunes will entrust themselves, you will only be destined to destruction. That previous time when you could overcome me is now past. See or go to your faults. Wherever you go, I shall destroy your arrogance. I should immediately cast aside all thoughts of working for my own. By having sold you to others, I shall not become discouraged, but shall offer up all your strength to others. If having become unconscientious, I do not give you all to all living beings, it is certain that you will deliver me to the guardians of hell. For ages you dealt with me like this, and I have suffered. But now, recalling my grudges, I shall overcome your selfish thoughts. Likewise, if I wish to be happy, I should not be happy with myself. And similarly, if I wish to be protected, I should constantly protect all others. To whatever degree I take, degree I shall fall, state of extreme helplessness. Having fallen in this way, if my desires are unable to be fulfilled, even by everything upon this earth, what else would be able to satisfy them? Being unable to fill them, desiring to do so, disturbing and dissatisfied mind will ensue. However, I do not depend on any miracle things. The exhaustion of my good fortune will be on. Therefore, I shall never create an opportunity for the desires of the body to increase, for whatever I do not grasp is attractive of all possessions.
All I have to do is take my time.
Just unable to move both, be propelled by other forces. Why do I grasp the unbearable? Lives or whether it dies, the use of the machine to me, how is it different from a clod of earth? Or why do I dispel the pride of being I am mine? Having accumulated suffering for no purpose because of my honoring and serving this body, what use is attachment and anger for this thing that is similar to a piece of wood? Whatever I'm clearing for body in this way, whatever is being eaten by vultures, no attachment or hatred towards these things. And so attached to it. If my body knows no anger when derided and no pleasure when praised, and for what reason am I wearing myself out like this? Yet I want this body of mine, both it and I are friends, since all beings want their, why do I not find their joy? For good beings, I should give up this body without any attachment, and though it may have faults, for experiencing the world's my previous actions. So enough of this childish behavior. I shall follow in the steps of the wise, and having recalled the wise discerning conscience, I turn away sleep and mental dullness, just like the compassionate children of the I shall patiently accept what I have to do. For if I do not make a constant effort day and when will my misery overcome to an end? Therefore, in order to dispel the obscurations, I shall withdraw my mind from the mistake, constantly place it in equipoise upon the perfect object. My throat is very, I wonder, can I hand it on to Pema? Can I hand it on to you, Pema? Oh, my throat's scratchy. Oh.
Everything. Start at the top, yeah? Oh, start here. So we're just doing the verses. You don't want me to do the commentary. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. Okay, forgive my errors and correct me as I go wrong, please. Yes, thank you. Oh, no, actually, I don't. It's run out. I'm close to run out. Chapter 9, Wisdom. All of these practices were taught by the Mighty One for the sake of wisdom. Therefore, those who wish to pacify suffering should generate this wisdom. Keep going. Recognition of the nature of wisdom, ascertaining the two truths. 2. Deceptive truths, so called because they are truths established from the point of view of deceived minds that obscure the real meaning and ultimate truths, so called because they are truths comprehended by superior's wisdom to which no deceptive truths appear, are accepted as the two truths. Ultimate truths are not objects experienced by the mind, but here the mind is to be understood as the deceptive mind that obscures one from seeing ultimate truths. 3. Two types of persons are seen to experience these two truths: yogis endowed with concentration of superior insight and calm abiding, and common people who are not so endowed. Common people consider the body to be a unit, the mind to be impermanent, and so forth. Yogis, however, contradict these views with reasoning such as the body is not a unit because it has many parts, and the mind is not permanent because it changes into something else. Furthermore, among the yogis, that is, the proponents of external existence, the Chittamatrans and the Madhyamakas, these are differences in their understanding of the nature of knowable entities. Thereby, those who have higher views progressively contradict those with lower views, with examples such as magicians' illusions, which are accepted as unreal by both yogis and common people. It is proven to the proponents of external existence that although something may appear to their minds, it does not have to be real. Thus, if minds of these yogis can be established as deceptive, it goes without saying that the same can be established in the minds of the common people. Refuting objections concerning deceptive truths. Question: if all phenomena were not truly existent, there would be no attainment of awakening from the practices of giving and so forth. Therefore, what reason would there be to practice them for that purpose? Answer: although phenomena do not exist ultimately, that is truly, because unanalyzed, they do not exist separately. It is not contradictory to engage in the practices of giving and so forth for the sake of obtaining the fruit of awakening. Since phenomena appear to both yogis and common people, why should there be dispute over them? Although they are similar in appearance, common people hold forms and others such things as consider them to be really existent. They do not understand them to be like an illusion. However, since yogis do understand them to exist in such a way, it is here that the yogis and the common people disagree. Since forms and so forth are established by true perception, isn't it contradictory to say that they are false? There is no contradiction because such things are merely worldly conventions, but they are not true for a valid cognition of an ultimate truth. This is just like an unclean body being known deceptively as clean. In fact, such cognition is false. If all phenomena are no true nature, why did the Buddha say these things have a momentary impermanent nature? Such statements have to be interpreted, having in mind their pure nature. The protected Buddha taught things to be impermanent for the sake of progressively guiding ordinary people who conceive of true existence towards a correct understanding. However, in actuality, such things are not truly momentary. Yet, because this momentary nature does not appear to ordinary people, is it not a contradiction to say it even exists deceptively? Although it does not appear to common persons because it appears to those yogis who have merely seen personal identitylessness, there is no mistake in its being a deceptive truth. Doesn't this contradict the statement that it is to see momentary nature of things is to see truth itself? Compared to the worldly view of things as permanent and so forth, the yogi's vision of momentariness is posited as a vision of reality itself. Otherwise, if in comparison to the yogis, the common people saw reality, then the yogi's definite understanding of the uncleanliness of a woman's body would be contradicted by the worldly person's apprehension of it as clean. If all phenomena were not truly existence, then since the Buddha too would be false, would no merits occur from worshipping him? In the same way that for you, truly existent merits occur from worshipping a truly existent conqueror, similarly for us, illusion-like merits are obtained from venerating an illusion-like conqueror. Yet if existent beings who are like an illusion, for as long as the necessary conditions are resembled, for that long even illusions will occur. Although they are unreal, they are similar to sentient beings in the fact that they arise from conditions. Why merely by their own beings? Then that follow that last long, those that last a short time. Nevertheless, if this were the case, would not this killing of a sentient being by another sentient being and the killing of an illusory person by another illusory person be equivalent transgressions? And not to be sentient being and the charity between illusory people be equivalent virtues? Because an illusory person who kills or gives something to another illusory person has no mind, no transgression nor virtue accrues from his actions. Whereas if such actions are committed by a sentient being endowed with an illusion-like mind, since the agent has a mind which can love and hate, merits and transgressions do accrue from an agent's actions. Because the mantras and so forth that cause illusions do not have the ability to produce minds, illusory minds are not produced from them, whereas the cause of sentient beings do have the ability to produce minds. Although false, the different illusions. In this way, the illusions that arise from a variety of different conditions also vary. They are produced from different causes, but nowhere is there no ability to produce all the effects. If ultimately all sentient beings are by nature in the state of beyond sorrow, that is nirvana, although deceptively they are in cyclic existence, then for the same reasons, since in terms of appearance the Buddha would be in cyclic existence, what would be the use of a bodhisattva's way of life? If their conditions are not discontinued, even illusions would not cease to be. Likewise, since sentient beings have not discontinued the conditions for cyclic existence, they are in cyclic existence. But since the Buddha has discontinued their conditions, even deceptively, he does not exist with the nature of one in cyclic existence, refuting the objections of the Chittamantrans concerning ultimate truths. Chittamatra, go down to there. If no deceived consciousness exists, then what mind can refer to the illusion-like appearances, Madhyamaka? If illusion-like external objects are not real for you, what can be referred to? Although external objects do not really exist, consciousness does truly exist. Therefore, since the images of objects which appear to consciousness are the mind itself, they are suitable to be inferred to by consciousness. If the mind itself and the illusion-like objects are one substance, then since there would be no beholder and no beheld, what object would be beheld by what mind? It has been said by the protector of the world himself that the mind does not have the ability to behold the mind. Just as the blade of a sword cannot cut itself, likewise the mind cannot behold itself. Just as light completely illuminates itself, so does mind know itself. The light does not illuminate itself because something that is to be illuminated has to first of all be unilluminated, but as so never obscured by any darkness that is unilluminated. Take, for example, two kinds of blueness. Blueness that appears in dependence upon another blue colored object, like a blue reflected in a clear piece of glass, and the blueness that does not appear in dependence upon something else, like a natural color of blue as lapis lazuli. Likewise, some objects, such as jugs, depend on other things, such as lights that illuminate them, and consciousness that know them, whereas such things as lights and feelings of pleasure and pain are beheld without any such dependence. This is not so because since the blueness of lapis lazuli establishes blueness, as soon as it comes into being, it is not something which previously had not been blue, makes itself blue. Therefore, this example is unsuitable to illustrate self-illumination, self-cognition. Conventionally, upon being perceived by consciousness, it can be said that light illuminates itself, but ultimately, instead, the mind illuminates itself. Thus, the example and what it illustrates is not comparable, since ultimately neither self-cognition nor other cognition are established as truly existent. No mind at all can behold a truly existent consciousness. Thus, it is meaningless to discuss whether such a mind has quality of illuminating itself or not. This would be like discussing whether the looks of the daughter of a barren woman are attractive or not. If self-cognition did not exist, how would we be able to have memory of a consciousness? Since we would have no such memory, the existence of self-cognition is established by reason of its being a necessary factor in the process of recollection of a consciousness. There is no certainty of this without the consciousness experiencing itself. It is remembered from its relationship to the experiencing of other objects such as forms. For example, although the hibernating bear does not experience being poisoned when bitten by a rat later, from hearing the sound of thunder in springtime, he awakens and experiences pain. From this, he indirectly remembers that he must have been poisoned. This means with consciousness is recalled is similar to this. If someone with the necessary causal conditions such as concentration can see the consciousness of others from afar, therefore it must be possible to clearly behold one's own consciousness which is so near. This is not necessarily so, because although from application of an eye lotion consecrated by powerful tamers, treasure vases can be seen far beneath the earth, the eye lotion itself, which is much closer, cannot be seen. If self-cognition were non-existent, other cognitions would also be non-existent. Therefore, there would be no such seeing, hearing, and so forth. The mere appearances of seeing, hearing, and perceiving are not negated here. It is the conception of them as truly existent that is to be reversed, since this is the cause for suffering. The illusion-like objects are not external objects other than the mind, yet although not other, they cannot be considered as being mind itself. Thus, they are phenomena which are indescribably other than the mind. If something is a thing, how can it be neither the mind nor other than it? It has to be one or the other. But if you say that it is neither one or the other, then it would be like a thing, because such a thing could not possibly exist. Just as a Chittamatra system, illusion-like objects are not a truly existent, can be still seen. Similarly, although the mind is not truly existent, conventionally it can appear as the beholder. Cyclic existence, a state in which subject and object appear as two substantially distinct things, has the basis of its deceptive appearance something real, namely as truly existent non-dual consciousness. Otherwise, if it did not have something real as its basis, it would be just like space and would not state such as real. If the dualistic state of real existence depended upon something real, how could it have the function of appearing as real subjects and objects? It would follow that it could not be real, truly existent things do not exist. Thus, in your tradition, whatever is mind would become a solitary non-dual consciousness unassisted by any object. If it were true that in this way the mind could separately be, then all sentient beings would become Tathagatas. Therefore, what advantage is there in considering the basis of cyclic existence to be merely mind, establishing the path, the knowledge that deceptive truths are like illusions? Even if one knows that all phenomena are like an illusion, how will disturbing conceptions be turned away? For instance, a magician who creates an illusory woman can still have desire for her. The creator of this illusion has not abandoned the tendencies of disturbing conceptions of desire towards knowable entities such as women. Therefore, when he sees the illusory woman, the tendency to see her emptiness is very weak. Although the illusion may be understood to be empty of being a real woman, through not understanding phenomena to be empty of true existence, the tendencies of desire are aroused. However, through developing the tendency to know all phenomena as empty, the tendency of apprehending things as truly existent will be abandoned. And through familiarizing oneself with the fact that no phenomena, emptinesses as well as deceptive truths, are established as truly existence, in the future, the apprehension of emptiness as well as the false phenomena as being truly existence will be abandoned. At this time, it will be impossible for any disturbing conceptions to occur. When it is said that no thing exists, this means that the thing to be negated, true existence, which is under examination, is not to be apprehended. At that time, since true existence, the basis in dependence upon which no true existence is posited, is removed, how can non-true existence remain before the mind as truly existent? Just as the son of a barren woman does not exist, neither does his dying. Once neither a thing nor a non-thing, its emptiness remains before the mind, then as there is no other alternative, such as something being both a thing and a non-thing, or being neither a thing nor a non-thing, finally the mind that apprehends truly existence will cease and be totally pacified. If this were the case, then because he would not reflect, I shall not do this, how could a Buddha act for the benefit of others? Wish-fulfilling trees and wish-granting gems, although they have no conceptual motivations, completely fulfill hopes because of their own power and the merits accumulated by people. Likewise, through the force of both purity of the disciples' minds and the prayers of Buddha makes for the work for their welfare while existing as a Bodhisattva, the physical body of a conqueror appears and benefits. Since the prayers of a Bodhisattva cease upon attaining Buddhahood, wouldn't it be impossible for them to have any effect at that time? For example, although the Brahma Sanku passed away a long time ago, the Garuda reliquary, which he consecrated with the force of his mantra, is still able to neutralize poisons. Similarly, the reliquary of the conqueror's body is formed in accordance with the actions and prayers when a conqueror was a bodhisattva. Although a bodhisattva has now passed beyond sorrow into the non-abiding nirvana and the conceptual desire to accomplish the welfare of others has ceased, the conqueror still accomplishes all that is of benefit for them. Shravaka. If the Buddha has no conceptual mind, can meritorious fruits occur from worshipping him? Madhyamaka. There is no fault, because it has been explained that the merits from worshipping the Buddha while he was alive and from worshipping his relics as he passed beyond sorrow are exactly the same. It is established through scriptural authority that fruits occur both from worshipping a Buddha who has no conceptual mind, as well as from a Buddha who is considered deceptively to have a conceptual mind and ultimately to be truly existent. For example, just as you accept that a truly existent fruit of merit occurs from worshipping a truly existent Buddha endowed with a mind, we too accept that false, non-truly existent merits occur from worshipping a false, non-truly existent Buddha, establishing as the path the knowledge that ultimate truths are emptinesses. Vaibhashika. Through cultivating a direct vision of the aspects of the Four Noble Truths, such as impermanence and so forth, one will be liberated from disturbing conceptions. So what is the point of cultivating a vision of emptiness not established as anything? Madhyamaka. It is necessary to behold emptiness because it is taught with perfection of wisdom, scriptures, Prajnaparamita sutras, that without the path of the wisdom that understands emptiness, there will be no resultant awakening. However, since the Madhyamaka teachings are not the word of the Buddha, they are not established as credible scriptural authorities for us. Then how are your scriptures established as credible? They are credible because they are established as the word of the Buddha for both of us. Then at first, prior to your acceptance of your tenets, your scriptures cannot have the word of Buddha, because at that time they were not established as the word of the Buddha for you. Nevertheless, they are still credible because we learn about them from a pure unbroken lineage. Yet this reason for which you believe in your scriptures is equally applicable in the Mahayana, because we too have an unbroken lineage of our teachers. Furthermore, if you accept something as true simply because you accept it, then you should also accept the Vedas and other non-Buddhist scriptures as true, credible scriptures. The Mahayana scriptures are not credible because they are disputed. However, since all your scriptures are disputed by the non-Buddhists, and some of them are other Buddhist schools, you should reject your own scriptures too. You accept any teaching which can be classified in 3 scriptural categories as the word of the Buddha, according to whether it discusses the higher training of moral discipline, concentration, or wisdom. If this is so, since these 3 trainings are taught in most Madhyamaka Sutra, they are therefore similar to your scriptures. Why then do you not accept them as the word of the Buddha? If, because you're not recognizing one scripture, such as the Prajnaparamita Sutra, as having a complete characteristics of Buddhist speech, you say that all Mahayana scriptures are corrupt, then for some reason, because one text, such as the Nirmochana Sutra, is similar to your text in having all characteristics of Buddhist speech, why not say that all Mahayana script texts were spoken by a conqueror? If Mahayana texts such as the Prajnaparamita Sutras were the word of the Buddha, surely the great Kashyapa and the other Arhats would have understood them. Since they did not, they cannot be the word of the Buddha. Since they are extremely profound, even the great Kashyapa and the other Arhats could not fathom the depths of what was expressed in the teachings of the Mahayana scriptures. Therefore, just because you do not understand them, you would God's reason for not accepting them as the word of the Buddha. You say that the monk at Arhat, the root for establishing the presence of the Buddha's teaching, but it would be hard for those whose minds are still apprehend true existence and have not understood emptiness to be a monk, Arhats, because they could not have fully abandoned their disturbing conceptions. Therefore, since they would not have abandoned suffering, it would be hard for them to be, nirvana. Although they do not understand such an emptiness, they are freed from suffering because they have abandoned their disturbing conceptions by means of meditating upon such things as impermanence, personal identitylessness. However, because of abandoning their misconceptions, they do become devoid of suffering as soon as they attain the state of an arhat with residue. Although those arhats have no disturbing conceptions, it's clearly taught that through the latent force of their previous actions, arhats such as Madhugariana experience suffering. Although they temporarily are not freed from suffering, as soon as they are abandoned their disturbing conceptions, they'll be freed when they leave their bodies, because they definitely do not have craving for the aggregates of body and mind, which is a principal condition for its conditioned existence. Yet while they have still form a craving that is completely a disturbing state of confusion, Why would they not take rebirth with aggregates contaminated by actions and disturbing conceptions? They would, because the causal condition for having feelings associated with apprehension of true existence definitely produces craving. And so-called arhats do have such feelings. Since a mind that lacks the understanding of emptiness is a mind that still apprehends true existence, it will still conceive some objects as truly existence. Although its manifest disturbing conceptions may temporarily cease, they will nevertheless arise again in the same way that during the equipoise of non-discernment, disturbing conceptions temporarily cease, only to arise again later when the period of equipoise is over. Therefore, those who wish to put an end to all suffering should meditate on emptiness. Where one who understands emptiness, compassion should arise for those who experience suffering as a result of being confused about emptiness. Then, while remaining in cyclic existence, to accomplish inconceivable benefit for others by means of liberating them from the two extremes of desiring post-cyclic existence and the fearing of suffering. Fruit of meditating on emptiness, the remedy of the darkness of the obscurations of the obscurations to the knowable is meditation on emptiness. Therefore, why do those who wish to quickly obtain omniscience not meditate on emptiness? Since understanding emptiness has such a it is quite invalid to aim criticism of the direction of emptiness. Therefore, without any doubts as to whether it is a path of the Buddha or not, one should meditate on emptiness. I do not want to meditate upon emptiness because it frightens me. It would be correct to be afraid of that which actually produces suffering, the apprehension of true existence. But why be afraid of meditating on emptiness if it pacifies all suffering? Blessing the chai. Om Ahum, Om Ahum, Om Ahum. Lama Sangye Lama Chöte Shin Lama Gendurte Ungi Jepo Lama Te Lama Nam La Chupa. Guru is Buddha, the Guru is Dharma, the Guru is Sangha also. The Guru is the creator of all happiness. To all Gurus, I make offerings. Shall we continue? Introducing the object of meditation, identitylessness, the identitylessness of the person. Correct? That's what we're up to. A general refutation of personal identity. If it truly exists in it would be justifiable to be afraid of any object at all. But since such a self does not exist, who is there to become afraid? Teeth, hair, and nails are not the self. The self is not bones nor blood. It is neither mucus nor its phlegm, nor is it the lymph nor pus. The self is not fat nor sweat. The lungs and the liver are also not the self. Neither are there the internal organs, nor is the self excrement or urine. Skin and flint self, warmth and energy winds are not the self, neither are bodily cavities the self, and no time are the 6 types of consciousness the self. The reason for this is because all 6 psychophysical categories are impermanent, multiple, and not autonomous. A refutation of the self postulated by the Samkhya school. Madhyamaka. If the consciousness that apprehends sound were a permanent self, there would be a conscious apprehension of sound at all times, even when the sound was absent. Since the consciousness of sound is dependent upon sound, if there were no sound as an object of consciousness, for what reason and through the cognition of what object could be called a consciousness that apprehends sound? If there can be a consciousness that apprehends sound, even though there is no consciousness of sound, it would absurdly follow that even a piece of wood could become a consciousness of sound. Therefore, without an object of consciousness remaining close by, we can definitely say that there is no consciousness that apprehends it. With sound, it does not mean that there is no apprehender of it, because at a later time when no sounds are present, the previous consciousness of sound becomes a consciousness of visual forms and so forth. These 2 consciousnesses are one thing. In this case, at the time of the consciousness of visual form, why is no sound heard? It is not heard because no sound exists in the proximity. Therefore, a consciousness apprehension of it could not possibly exist. How can something whose nature is to apprehend sound ever apprehend visual forms? It could not, because their aspects are mutually exclusive. Their aspects are mutually exclusive, but in relation to 2 objects occurring at different times, it is not contradictory to say that one consciousness apprehending them. This is like one person who, in relation to his father and his son, respectively, is positive as son and a father. However, in your tradition, it is not really true to consider a father and a son as one person, because in this case, the truly existent matter, primary substance, which you accept as non-appearing, equally balanced state of purity, activity, and darkness, could be neither a father nor a son, because it has true independent existence. The apprehension of a visual form does not exist as an apprehension of sound, because if it existed nature, it would surely be apparent, whereas it is never seen as such by valid cognition. For example, just as one actor has many different roles, the previous apprehension of sound is later seen in another way, that is, as an apprehension of visual form. Then the consciousness that can no longer be permanent because it keeps on changing into something else. Although the consciousness appears in other ways, its nature remains the same as before. Such consciousness appears in other ways, and although the different modes are not true, their nature is one and true. Please tell us, what is this nature that is one and true? It is the nature of merely being conscious that is one and true. In that case, it would follow that the minds of all different individuals are one, because they too are similar in merely being consciousness. Furthermore, the self that has intentions and the primal substance has no intentions would also become one, because they are similar in merely being existent, knowable entities. When particular consciousnesses, the apprehensions of sound, visual forms, and so forth are mistaken and untrue, how can they be one true general aspect, namely a similar basis of merely being consciousness? They cannot, because it is illogical for the general aspect of something to be true when all particular aspects are false. A refutation of the self postulated by the Nayakika school. Furthermore, a non-mental phenomenon cannot be the self that experiences objects because it lacks the nature of mind, just like a jug. Although it is itself not the nature of mind, it does experience objects because of being endowed with a separate mind. That is illogical, for when a self by nature, not consciousness of objects, becomes to be conscious of them through being endowed with a mind, it would absurdly follow that in becoming a conscious self, the non-conscious self would perish and hence no longer be permanent, as you assert. Even if itself were unchanging, then how, through being endowed with a mind, could a self, which is not consciousness of objects, come to be conscious of them? This would not be possible. Thus, if you accept as self something that is not conscious of objects because it is matter and separated from the function of producing, if it's being, then space would also be a self. Rejection of arguments concerning identitylessness. If the self were not permanent, the relation between the action and its effects, that is, the doer of the action and coming to the experience that is committed, would not be maintained. This is so because the doer would perish as soon as the action was committed, and would not exist when the time came to experience the effects of his action. Therefore, whose action would be to be experienced? The basis for the causal action, the aggregates of this life, and basis of the ripening effect, the aggregates of future life, are distinct states of being. And since in both these states it established both for you, because you accept a permanent self, and for us, because we accept identitylessness, that the self neither commits the action nor experiences the effect, is it not meaningless to argue on this point? What about actions whose fruit will be experienced in late life? They do not have the different basis aggregates upon which the causal action is committed and the result is experienced. Nevertheless, in the same moment, it is impossible to see the aggregates of someone committing a causal action being subject to the experience of its result, just as a father and a son cannot be born at the same time. However, it says in one scripture, how will someone else experience the results of the actions one commits? O monks, actions that you commit and accumulate will not ripen on such things as the external, but upon your future aggregates grasped by the consciousness. Thus, does not your assertion contradict the statement that the doer of the action must experience its results himself? This statement is to be interpreted as follows. While actually considering the same continuity of the individual, the Buddha taught that the doer of the action is the experiencer of the result in order to prevent people denying the law of karmic cause and effect. Actually, this is not so because a permanent self is non-existent. Why is there no permanent self? Neither the mind of the past nor the mind of the future of the self, because they are non-existent. One has ceased and the other has not yet been produced. Yet isn't the mind of the present moment which has been produced not the ceased the self? If this were the case, then the next moment when perish, not self. With this reasoning, all five aggregates are rejected as being the self. For example, when the trunk of a plantain tree is split into parts, there are no essence found at all. Likewise, when analytically searched for with reasoning, a truly existent self cannot be found among the aggregates. If there were no sentient beings towards whom could compassion be developed, although sentient beings do not truly exist, deceptively one should develop compassion for those imputed as sentient beings by the confused mind which has promised to practice the Bodhisattva way of life in order to lead them to the goal of liberation. Yet if one's sentient beings do not exist, who will obtain the results of developing compassion? Although ultimately it is true that there are no truly existent sentient beings, compassion, or results, deceptively from the point of view of a mind confused about phenomena, we accept the existence of merely apparent results arising from merely apparent compassion developed towards merely apparent sentient beings. Since compassion is both a subjective state to which things appear in a false way and a mind confused about phenomena, surely it is equally fit to be rejected as is confusion about the self. In order to completely pacify suffering, one need not be rejected. Therefore, one should not reject this merely apparent confusion about the results. However, the confusion about the self should be rejected because it increased such things as self-importance, which causes for suffering. Yet there are no means to reject this confusion. There are, because the supreme remedy for its meditation upon identitylessness, the identitylessness of phenomena, close placement of mindfulness of the body. The body is neither feet nor calves, thighs and the waist are not the body. The abdomen and the back are not the body, and neither are the chest and the shoulders and the body. The ribs and the hands are not the body. Armpits and the nape and the neck are not the body. All inner organs are not the body, neither the head nor the neck and body. Therefore, what truly existent body is there among these parts? If the body abided in all the limbs equally in all directions, indeed I could say that all parts of the body abide in more parts. But where so abide, it would have to exist independent of its parts and unrelated to them. If the entire truly existent body abided separately in each of the individual parts, such as the hands, then there would have to be as many bodies as there were parts. If there is no truly existent body outside or within, how could the hands and so forth have such a body at all? Also, since it is not something different from the hands and the other parts, how could a separate body unrelated to its parts exist? Therefore, the body is not truly existent, but through being confused about its hands and other parts, a mind that mistakes them for a truly existent body arises. However, the body does not truly exist in a way it is apprehended by the mind. It is like the mind apprehending the pile of stones as a man being set up in form similar to a man's. In the same way that a pile of stones will appear to be a man as long as the causal conditions to mistake them for a man are assembled, so will the hands and so forth appear as a truly existent body for as long as the causal conditions to mistake them for a body are present. Just as the body as a whole is not truly existent, how can the hands be truly existent? They are only a composite of fingers. The fingers too are not truly existent because they are a collection of joints, and the joints in turn, by being divided into their parts, are also found to be not truly existent. Likewise, when these and the atomic particles into their directional parts, they are revealed as multiples and thus cannot be truly existent units. Even when the directional parts are divided up, they are found to be devoid of truly existent parts. Hence, they are found to be empty as space, and so even atomic particles can have no true existence. Thus, although the body appears to be truly existent, in fact it is not. Therefore, who, having analyzed it, would have attached to this dreamlike form? And when in this body is not truly existent, how can the distinction be made into truly existent male and female bodies? Close placement of mindfulness on feelings, Madhyamaka. If feelings of pain truly existed, then since they would never end, why would they not affect feelings of great joy and happiness, making it possible for them to ever arise? Conversely, if happiness had true existence, why do those sufferings greatly from grief and sickness not find any joy in delicious foods and the like? They should, if happiness had true independent existence, but they clearly do not. Indeed, pain really exists, but when a strong feeling of pleasure occurs, the pain is not experienced because it is overridden by pleasure. Yet simply because it lacks the defining characteristics of a feeling, namely experience, how can something which is not of the nature of an experience be a feeling? It is feeling because there is an experience of a very subtle pain. Surely only the gross aspect of suffering is dispelled by the strong pleasure. The nature of a subtle pain is a slight, weak feeling of happiness distinct from the gross sensation of pleasure. However, this subtle experience cannot possibly be a form of pain because you now say it is a form of happiness. If pain is not occurring in someone's mind because its opposite is occurring, then to consider what has occurred to be a feeling is surely what can be called a mistaken conception. Therefore, as a remedy for such mistaken conceptions, one should cultivate the wisdom which analyzes the non-true existence of all phenomena. The state of absorption that arises from the field of what is to be examined by its mind is the nourishment that sustains the yogi's understanding of the way things exist. Madhyamaka? Do you want me to read that bit? If there were space between the sense faculties such as the eyes and the objects such as visual forms, how could the two ever meet? They would be like a mountain in the east and a mountain in the west. If there were no space at all, then since there would be one unit, what could meet what? There could be no meter and nothing to be met with. Furthermore, the partless atomical particles of the sense faculty and the partless atomical particles of the object cannot meet on all sides because they cannot enter into one another. That is, they cannot merge into one another. This is so because atomic particles have no space inside and are completely equal in size. Were they to meet, they would have to do so in this way, because without one partless atomical particle entering into another, there could be no mixing of the two. And without this mixing, there could not possibly be any meeting on all sides. And how would it be logical for those who accept the existence of a partless atomical particle to say it is to meet on one particular side of another partless atom? If that were the case, the partless atomic particle would have one part which is met with and another part which is not met at all. Hence, it would no longer be partless. However, if you see the dominant particle that has no parts but can still meet with, please show it to us. It also follows that it is illogical to meet consciousness because it is not physical. Something physical cannot possibly meet something non-physical. Although there is no physical meeting, there does exist a mere aggregation of the sense faculty, the object and consciousness to produce the effect of a cognition. This is invalid because just as we analyzed before, an aggregation is not found to be truly existent thing. If in this way contact, the cause of feeling, is not truly existent, from what do truly existent feelings the effect arise? Thus, what is the purpose of tiring oneself out for the sake of obtaining pleasurable feelings? And likewise, whose mind could be caused any harm by what painful feelings? Both the pleasure which is obtained and the pain which harms have no true existence. When there is no truly existent identity of the person that feels and no truly existent feelings either, having seen the situation, why do I not turn away from the craving to obtain pleasure and to be separated from pain? Since the sense objects that I see and touch appear to me but have no true existence, their nature is like a dream and an illusion. Therefore, the subjective feelings of them can also have no true existence. Feelings are not seen or experienced by the mind which arises simultaneous with them, because since they are produced simultaneous with it, they would be causally unrelated to it. Likewise, the previous feelings and later feelings can be remembered and wished for, but they cannot actually be experienced by the mind because they have either ceased or are yet to be produced. Because there would be no experiencer and nothing experienced, they cannot experience themselves. And if one's own mind of the past, present, and future cannot experience them, nothing else can experience them either. Therefore, no truly existent experiencer of feeling exists, and thus no truly existent feelings exist either. So how can this identityless collection of aggregates be benefited by pleasurable feelings, harmed by painful ones? It cannot, because beneficial and harmful feelings do not truly exist. Close placement of mindfulness of the mind. A truly existent mental consciousness does not abide in the sense faculties such as the eyes. It does not abide in the objects such as visual forms. It does not abide in between the two. Neither does a truly existent mind exist inside either an outside body, and it is not to be found elsewhere. This mind is neither the body nor truly other than it. It is not mixed with nor entirely separate from it. The mind is not the slightest bit truly existent. Therefore, all sentient beings have from the very beginning been in the natural nirvana, that is, their minds have always been devoid of true existence. Although the mental consciousness may exist in that way, don't the five sense consciousnesses truly apprehend their five objects? Well, let's first consider whether they exist prior to, simultaneous with, or after their objects. If we said that the five sense consciousness existed before the five objects of which they are conscious, then having referred to what objects could those consciousnesses arise? At that time, there could be no objects because they would still have to be produced. Even if the consciousness and what is the consciousness simultaneous, still having referred to what object could the consciousness arise? In this case, when the consciousness is yet to be produced, so its object, and once it has been produced, there would be no need for it to be produced by an object. And if the consciousness came into existence after the conscious object, which is conscious, then from what object could it arise? Since the object would have ceased by the time the consciousness arose, what consciousness would have no object? Close placement of mindfulness of phenomena. In this way, by means of the above reasoning, one will come to understand that all phenomena do not truly arise. Rejection of the arguments. If in this way all phenomena do not arise, since there would be no deceptive truths which arise and perish, how could two truths be presented in the Madhyamaka tradition? Furthermore, if all phenomena existed in this way and deceptive truths were posited merely through the being imputed as arising and perishing entities by beings who have deceived mind, how could sentient beings pass from sorrow into nirvana? They could not, because even though some beings have entered the unchanging state of nirvana, it could become a changing, deceptive truth through others simply imputing it to be arising and perishing entity. In reality, it is unchanging, but through not understanding this, it can be misconceived of as arising and perishing. Just because it is posited as deceptive truth with regard to the particular false conception, this does not imply that it ceases to exist as an unchanging state. That false conception cannot cause nirvana to no longer exist, because another person cannot make something else a deceptive truth out of his own deception. This deception is a distorted conception in the mind of someone who has not passed into the state beyond sorrow. It is not the deceptive mind of one who has passed beyond sorrow. Later, when the state of nirvana is attained, if that deceptive conception were ascertained to exist, nirvana would exist as a changing deceptive truth. But since this deceptive conception does not exist in the mind of one who has attained nirvana, nirvana does not exist as a changing deceptive truth. Since the examining mind and the examined object are mutually abandoned upon one another, if the object is not established, the mind too would be non-existent. Therefore, your analysis of non-true existence would be invalid. Indeed, because the object does not truly exist, the mind does not truly exist. But this does not mean the analysis is invalid, because all analytic minds are spoken of as a conventional consciousness and are said to be dependent upon reasoning which is accepted in the world. If it were necessary to analyze the analytic mind with another truly existent analytic mind, then that analytic mind too would have to be analyzed by yet another analytic mind. Therefore, since this process would never reach an end, the basic object of analysis would never be ascertained. When the object of analysis has been analyzed and established to be empty, the analytic mind is found not to have a truly existent object as its basis or reference. Thus, because if it is understood there is no truly existent object, even without analysis, it is understood that a truly existent analytic mind cannot arise from it. This state of peace in which no truly existent objects nor consciousness arise is called nirvana, the state beyond sorrow. Negating the conception to be eliminated, the apprehension of true existence, refuting the true existence of subject and object. According to the realists, both the object and the consciousness of it have true existence. However, they are a very difficult position because there is no proof for their assertion, whereas it can be refuted. The true existence of the object is established from the true existence sense faculties of consciousness. What can be established as true existent in dependence upon truly existent consciousness? On the other hand, we can also say the consciousness is established as truly existent from its objects it is conscious of. What can depend upon a truly existent object of consciousness? If they mutually truly existed through the force of one another, then one is not established as truly existent. The other would also not be established so. In the case, they would be non-truly existent. For example, if someone has no son, he cannot be established as a father. And also, if there is no one established as a father, where can a child come from? In this way, since without a child there is no father, and without a father no child, in both cases there can be neither. Likewise, the object and consciousness cannot exist independently of one another. On the contrary, through dependence, we can establish things as truly existent. For example, since a sprout is produced from a seed, we can understand the true existence of the seed from the sprout, even though the sprout depends upon it. Likewise, why can we not understand that there is a truly existent object of consciousness from consciousness which is produced from it? This is not the same thing. The existence of the seed can be understood by seeing the sprout that resulted from it with a consciousness that is other than the sprout. Yet what mind can understand a truly existent consciousness that understands that has arisen from a truly existent object of consciousness? It is impossible to cognize a truly existent consciousness since such a thing does not exist. Establishing the emptiness of true existence from the viewpoint of the cause, refuting production from no cause. The non-Buddhist Charvakas assert that all things are produced from no cause, because in one of their scriptures it states, all things such as the rising of the sun, the flowing of water downhill, the roundness of peas, the sharpness of thorns, and the tail feathers of the peacock were not made by anyone. They arise from their own nature. This assertion is unacceptable because sometimes the production of an effect from the collection of all its causes can be seen even by the true perceptions of worldly people. Furthermore, it is understood that through inference that the variety among effects, such as the different stems of a lotus flowers, is produced because of their having a variety of causes. Yet by what has this variety of causes been made? By a variety of previous causes. For what reason is a distinct cause able to produce a distinct effect? This comes from the force of its previous cause, refuting production from a permanent cause. The non-Buddhist Naiyayikas and the Vaisheshikas believe that the cause of everything is God Ishvara. He has 5 qualities, namely divinity, purity, and being worthy of veneration, permanence, oneness, and being the creator of everything. If you accept Ishvara to be the cause of all beings, then one moment, please, who exactly is Ishvara? He is the great elements of earth, water, fire, air, and space. Indeed, these elements are the cause of whatever is formed from them. But why tire yourselves out of mere name Ishvara that you have to them? This is not worth arguing about. In any case, with the assertion, you contradict your own definition of Ishvara, because since earth and the other great elements are multiple, impermanent, without conscious movement, not divine, something trodden upon and unclean, they cannot be Ishvara. Space, too, is not Ishvara because it is unmoving, and the self is not him because it would have been refuted as above. Furthermore, we cannot conceive of the creator Ishvara. What is the point of trying to describe the inconceivable entity? Moreover, exactly what effects is Ishvara asserted to produce? He creates the self, the atomic particles of the earth element, and so forth, as well as the latter continuity of himself. Yet don't you accept the nature of these things to be permanent? If you do, it is contradictory to say that they are produced. Consciousness is not produced by Ishvara. Its particular states arise from various states of consciousness, and its mere cognitive nature arises from a beginningless series of previous cognitions. Pleasure and pain, too, are produced from wholesome and unwholesome actions, respectively. Therefore, please tell me what effects are produced by Ishvara. If the cause Ishvara, the permanent producer of effects, has no beginning, how can the effects of pleasure and so forth have a beginning? Similarly, since Ishvara has no end, why would pleasure and pain always exist? According to you, they should exist in this way, but in reality, they're clearly occasional phenomena. It is not necessary that Ishvara always produces effects, because although he is permanent, he depends upon other occasional conditions in order to produce them. Yet it would follow that Ishvara cannot depend upon anything else, because there are no phenomena other than those that have been created by him. Therefore, upon what does his production of effects depend? If he depended upon a group of other conditions, it would follow that the conditions themselves would become the cause instead of Ishvara. This is so because once the cause and conditions were assembled, Ishvara would have no power not to produce the effects, and without those other causes and conditions, he would have no power to produce effects. If effects were produced without the desire of Ishvara, it would follow that they were under the power of something other than him. Even if effects were created according to his desires, their production would be dependent upon his desires. And if his creation were dependent, what would become your permanent, independent Ishvara? He would be under the power of impermanent desires. In addition, the Vaisheshikas assert that both the animate and inanimate worlds were produced by permanent atomic particles. This assertion cannot be accepted because we have already refuted permanent atomic particles above. The Samkhya's believe that all knowable entities can be classified under the conscious self and the material primal substance together with its manifestations. Among these two, the self is neither a cause nor an effect, whereas the permanent, partless material, indivisible and all-creating primal substance is asserted to be the cause of the world. They speak of a balanced state of the 3 qualities of equanimity, good pleasure and pain, called in their system purity, activity, darkness as being the primal substance, and they speak of imbalanced states of these 3 qualities, that is, the states that manifest from the immeasurable balance of primal states, balance as being the world, This primal substance you accept cannot be existence because it is impossible for something that is truly partless to truly exist with a threefold nature. Likewise, the qualities cannot truly exist as 3 because each of them has 3 aspects. This latter reason is established because you assert the manifest phenomena as a nature of the 3 qualities. Furthermore, if the 3 qualities, the cause, do not truly exist, the existence of the phenomena such as sound that are manifested from them as effects become extremely far-fetched. It is not possible for clothing and the like, that is tactile sensations, visual forms, sounds, etc., to have the same nature of pleasure and so forth, because they have no conscious quality. They are manifestations of the primal substance, which is matter. things such as clothing have nature of pleasure and so forth, because they truly are the nature of their cause, namely the qualities of pleasure, pain, and equanimity from which they become manifest. However, things such as clothing are similar to the body in being composed in parts, and we've not already refuted the true existence of the body with our analysis. Furthermore, in your tradition, the cause of clothing and so forth is asserted to be of three qualities of pleasure and so forth. How can this be? Woolen cloth does not arise from pleasure. On the contrary, even conventionally, it is seen that pleasure arises from woolen cloth. Moreover, upon analysis, the woolen cloth, the cause is found to no true effect, no pleasure and other feelings can never be validly apprehended as permanent because they are occasional phenomena. If pleasure were always manifestly present, then why is it not so? When pain is produced, pleasure is not experienced because it becomes very subtle. How can something permanent be sometimes gross and sometimes subtle? Since it becomes subtle upon ceasing to be gross, this alternately gross and subtle feelings must be impermanent. For similar reasons, why do you not accept that all manifest things are impermanent? Although the various gross and subtle states of pleasure are impermanent, the nature of pleasure itself is permanent. Since the gross and subtle forms of pleasure are nothing other than pleasure itself, and since they are impermanent, pleasure itself clearly must be impermanent as well. You accept that something cannot be produced from nothing because it does not exist in the nothingness, just as oil can never come from sand. Thus, while you do not accept the production of manifest entities that were previously non-existent, you do claim that manifest entities must abide at the time of their cause. Because although at that previous time in a manifest state, manifest form. However, if the effect abided in the cause, to eat food would be to eat excrement, and you should purchase and wear cotton seeds with the money you pay for clothing. Although things do exist in this way, the confused people of the world do not wear cotton seeds because they cannot see clothing in them. Yet even Kapila, the founder of your tradition, whom you assert the knower of truth, wore clothing and not cotton seeds. This must have been true for him as well. Furthermore, because in your tradition a knower truth, the effect would exist in a worldly person, the cause, why do worldly people not see clothing in cotton seeds? It follows that they should. Indeed, a knower of truth doesn't exist in cause, a worldly person, but at the time of being a cause, all the states of mind of worldly people are invalid. Therefore, they do not understand that the clothing exists in the cotton seeds. In that case, even the effects of food, clothing, knower of truths that they clearly would see as untrue because they too mind. If according to you, Madhyamikas, even valid cognitions are not valid, that is deceived, wouldn't the emptiness they understand also be false? It must be. Therefore, meditation upon ultimate truth of emptiness is surely incorrect. Without contacting, that is apprehending, the true existence which the mind has imputed, one will not apprehend the non-true existence of its emptiness. In the same way, without having thought, son of a barren woman, one cannot consider his death. And because non-true existence is dependent upon true existence, the non-true existence is negation of existence is also clearly false. That is, it has no true independent existence. Nevertheless, it is quite valid to meditate on emptiness because it is the remedy that eliminates the apprehension of true existence. For example, when his child dies in a dream, the dreamer's thought of the child's non-existence causes the thought of the child's existence to cease. Although the thought of his non-existence is false, it still has ability to abandon the thought, his existence. Summary. Therefore, when such analysis is made with these reasonings, no impermanent thing is found to exist with no cause, and no individual cause or condition or any assembly of conditions is found to have existed from the very beginning. Since truly existent phenomena do not come anew from somewhere or something else, in the beginning they are not produced, in the middle way they do not remain, and in the end they do not go elsewhere upon cessation. How then are all these things which are under analysis not established, although they are apprehended as true by confused minds, not different from illusions? They appear to be truly existent, whereas in fact they are not. Establishing that phenomena conventionally arise from causes, Whatever horses and elephants have been made manifest through a magician's illusion, and whatever visual forms and so forth have been made manifest by cause and conditions, should be examined as to where they first came from, where they abide in the meantime, and where they go to in the end. Upon examination, found to be similar, non-truly coming and going. An effect will only be seen because it would not be seen. Since it is a product of cause and conditions, it is similar to a reflection in a mirror. So how can it be true, independent existence? Establishing emptiness of true existence from the point of view of the effect. What would be the need of a cause for a thing that truly existed? If it truly existed, it would exist. What need would there be for a cause for it if it didn't exist at all? If it didn't exist, it would not be the effect of anything. Although a cause cannot make a non-existent arise into a non-thing, it can change into a thing. That is illogical. Even by means of 100 million causes, a non-thing cannot be transformed into anything else because it is permanent. If it were able to change, it would have to do so either by retaining its non-thingness or through discarding it. In the former instance, how could it become a thing as long as its condition remained unseparated from being a non-thing? And in the second instance, what is could first separate from it, say, non-thing, and then be produced? That is an impossibility. Furthermore, in this condition of a non-thing is not discarded, what will be impossible for a thing to exist at the same time? In which case, when could a thing ever come to exist? Also, a further consideration should be made in the case of a non-thing becoming a thing, upon having first discarded the conditions of a non-thing. Without actually becoming a thing, a non-thing cannot be separated from the state of a non-thing. And if it has not become separate from this state, it is impossible for the state of a non-existent thing to arise. Similarly, a non-existent thing, non-thing upon cessation, because it would certainly follow that is both thing and non-thing. In this way, there is no cessation or production of a truly existent things. Therefore, all beings have never a truly existent birth, nor a truly existent cessation. They are pacified of true existence from the very beginning, and by nature in a state beyond sorrow, that is a state devoid of true existence. Although sentient beings appear, they are not truly existent, just like a dream. And since they are found to have no essence upon analysis, they are also like a plantain tree. Therefore, in the being empty of true existence, there is no difference between the state beyond sorrow, nirvana, and the state beyond sorrow, state of existence. The results of wisdom. What is there to gain and what is there to lose with things that are empty of true existence in this way? Who is there to pay me respect, and who is there to abuse me? From what are pleasures and pain derived? What is there to be happy or unhappy about? When I search for the ultimate nature, who is there to crave, and what is there to crave for? Upon analysis, this world of living beings is found to have no true existence. Therefore, who can die here? What is there to come, and what has been? Who are friends and who are relatives? O you who are investigating reality, please recognize, as I have done, that all is just like space. Those who wish to be happy are greatly disturbed by causes for conflict and overjoyed by the causes for pleasure. Not finding happiness, they suffer. In order to find it, they exert themselves. They argue with others, cut, stab one another. With many wrong deeds, they live in a state of great hardship. Even though they repeatedly come to happy existences, experience much pleasure there, upon dying they fall for a long time into the unbearable sufferings of lower realms. With conditioned, the chasms of suffering are many, and the liberating comprehension of ultimate truth is absent. Furthermore, the apprehension of true existence and the understanding of emptiness mutually contradict one another. Yet, if while in conditioned existence I do not realize the ultimate truth, I shall continue to experience a limitless ocean of misery, unbearable and beyond analogy. Likewise, through not having realized emptiness, I have little strength for virtue, and my human life of leisure endowment is indeed very short. Also, I strive hard to live long and avoid illness. I am concerned with hunger, rest, and sleep. I am injured by others and complete. Therefore, this life swiftly passes with no meaning, and is very hard to find the chance to investigate reality. In this state, where is the means to reverse this beginningless habit of grasping at true existence? Furthermore, devils are exerting themselves to cast us into vast They show us many mistaken paths, and it is hard to resolve doubts about the perfect way. It will be hard to find the leisure of a human life again, and extremely difficult to find the presence of Buddhas. It is hard to forsake this flood of disturbing conceptions. Alas, sentient beings will continue to suffer. Oh, indeed, it is worth feeling sorrow for those that drift the river of pain, who, although they experience great misery, are unaware of the sufferings they go through. For example, some ascetics wash themselves again and again, and others repeatedly enter fire. But although they thereby suffer greatly, they pride themselves in being content. Similarly, those who mistake their suffering for joy and live as though they would know aging or death are first of all killed by the Lord of Death, and then experience the unbearable misery of falling into the lower realms. When shall I be able to extinguish the pains of those tormented by the fires of suffering with the rain of my accumulated happiness that has sprung from the clouds of my merits, and by having, in manner of not referring to true existence, respectfully gathered the accumulation of merit, when by referring to the other will I be able to reveal emptiness to those who are wretched and sad? You up to chapter 10 or finished? You finished? Chapter 10, Dedication. Through the virtue of having composed this work, a guide to the Bodhisattva's way, may all living beings come to engage in the Bodhisattva's conduct. May all living beings everywhere plagued with sufferings of body and mind obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. For as long as they remain in cyclic existence, may their mundane happiness never decline, and may all of them uninterruptedly receive waves of joy from Bodhisattvas. May all embodied creatures who throughout the universe experience hellish realms come to enjoy the bliss of Sukhavati. May those feeble with cold find warmth. May those oppressed with heat be cooled by the boundless waters that pour forth from the great clouds of the Bodhisattva's merit. May the forest of razor-sharp leaves and may the trees of knives and swords grow into wish-fulfilling trees. May the regions of hell become places of joy with vast and fragrant lotus pools, beautiful with exquisite calls of wild ducks, geese, and swans. May the heaps of burning coals, heaps of jewels, and may the mountains of the crushing hells become celestial palaces of worship filled with sugatas. May the rains of lava, blazing stones, and weapons from now on become rain of flowers, and may all battling with weapons from now on be playful exchange of flowers. By the force of my virtues, may those caught in the fiery torrents of acid, their flesh eaten away, revealing their lily-white bones, obtain the bodies of celestials and dwell with good flowing rivers. Why are the henchmen of Yama and unbearable buzzards and vultures afraid? For no joy is brought upon us, and just looking up, they behold in a fervent, radiant form of Vajrapani. Through the force of their joy, may they be free from wrongdoing and find this company. When they see the lava fires of hell extinguished by a rain of falling flowers mixed with scented water, immediately satisfied they wander through its works was. In this way, may the hell of Padmapani. Friends, don't be afraid, but quickly gather here. What need is there to flee when above us youthful Gosha spell our fears? The tender Bodhisattva who protects all living things. Through might all suffering is removed and the force of power of joy abounds. Behold him in an enchanting palace, resounding with hymns sung by 1,000 goddesses, with the tiaras of 100 gods being offered to lotus feet, and a rain of many flowers falling on his head, the eyes of which are moist with kindness. Upon seeing Manjugosha in this way, may those in hell cry out loud with joy. Likewise, having seen due to the roots of my wholesome deeds, the cooler, sweet-smelling rain falling from joyful clouds, created by the Bodhisattvas Samantabhadra, Nirvana, Vishkambini, may all beings in hell be truly happy. May all animals be free from the fear of being eaten by one another. May the hungry ghosts be happy as people of the northern continent. May they be satisfied by a stream of milk pouring from the hand of the noble Lord Avalokiteshvara, and by bathing in it may they always be cooled. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds, and just as it was with Mahadeva, may the pregnant women give birth without pain. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, happiness and prosperity. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their illness, and may every disease in the world never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power. May people think of benefiting one another. May all travelers find happiness everywhere they go, and without any effort may they accomplish whatever they set out to do. May those who sail in ships and boats obtain whatever they wish for, and having safely returned to the shore, may they joyfully reunite with their relatives. May troubled wanderers who have lost their way meet with fellow travelers without being fear of thieves and tigers. May their going be easy without any fatigue. May those who find themselves in trackless, fearful wilderness, their children, their age, the unprotected, the stupefied, and the insane be guided by beneficial celestials. May beings be free from all states of no leisure, and be endowed with faith, wisdom, and kindness, with food obtained in a proper manner and excellent conduct. May they be mindful throughout their lives. May all beings be without want for wealth, just like the treasury of space, and without it being the source of dispute or harm. May they always enjoy it as they wish. May those who have little splendor come to be endowed with majesty, and may those whose bodies are worn with toil find magnificent and noble forms. May all lower life forms in the universe take rebirth in higher realms. May the lowly obtain grandeur, and may the proud be humbled. May, by the merits I have accumulated, may every single sentient being wrongdoing and perpetually engage in virtue. May they never be parted from the awakening mind, and may they always engage in the Bodhisattva's conduct. May they be cared for by the Buddhas and relinquish the actions of the devils. May sentient beings have lives inconceivably long and fortunate realms, always live in contentment, unfamiliar with even the word death. May there abound in all directions gardens of wish-fulfilling trees filled with sweet sound of Dharma, proclaimed by the Buddhas and their children. And may the land everywhere be pure, smooth, and devoid of any rocks, level like the palm of the hand, in the nature of lapis lazuli. For all the circles of disciples, may many bodhisattvas dwell in every land, adorning them with their excellent manifestations. May all embodied creatures uninterruptedly hear the sound of Dharma issuing from birds and trees, beams of light, and even sense itself. May they always meet with Buddhas and children with bodhisattvas. Be worshipped with endless clouds of offerings. May celestial beings tidily reign so the harvests may be bountiful. May kings act in accordance with Dharma, and the people of the world always prosper. Repeatedly. May dark cannibals and the like be endowed with compassionate minds. May no living creature ever suffer, commit wrong, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with their minds weighed down. In all temples and monasteries and reading and recitation flourish and remain. May the Sangha always be in harmony, and may their purposes be accomplished. May monks desiring to practice find quiet and solitary places, and through having abandoned all wandering thoughts, may they meditate with flexible minds. May nuns be materially sufficient, abandoning quarreling with each other and be unharmed. Similarly, may all ordained ones never let their morality weaken. Having repeated reforms, may transgressions directly be eradicated, and thereby obtaining a happy state of birth, may spiritual conduct not decline even there. May the wise be honored, and may their arms be pure, and may they be renowned in all directions. May beings not experience the misery of lower realms, and may they never know any hardships. With a physical form superior to the gods, may they swiftly attain Buddhahood. May sentient beings again and again make offerings to all the Buddhas. May they constantly be joyful with the inconceivable bliss of the Buddhas. Just as they intended, may the Bodhisattva fulfill the wealth of the world, and may all sentient beings receive whatever Buddhas have intended for them. Similarly, may the Pratikya Bodhisattvas and the Shravakas find happiness, and until I reach the level of the joyous one through the kindness of Manjughosha, may I be mindful throughout the lives, always obtain ordination. May I live saying both simple common foods. In all my lives may I find the ideal solitude for practicing Dharma. Wherever I wish to see some, may I always behold without any hindrance the Lord Manjughosha himself, in order to fulfill the needs of beings who, in the space, may my way of life be just like Manjughosha, for as long as space endures, for as long as living beings remain. Until then, may I too abide to dispel the misery of the world. May all the pains of living creatures ripen solely upon myself, and through the might of the Bodhisattva Sangha, may all beings experience happiness. May the teachings, which are the sole medicine for suffering and the origin of every joy, be materially supported and honored and abide for a very long time. I prostrate to Manjughosha through kindness, and I prostrate to my spiritual teachers whose kindness I develop. Just wondering, with the lights that have been displayed on the altars and so forth, should we do any multiplying offerings in the silver book? Okay. Would anyone have a preference on leading that? It's okay. Do you have a preference? Would you like me to try to continue? Okay. I'm not a good reader, so excuse me. Do you remember the page? 139, is it? Yes. Beg your pardon? 43, I've got 51, so I'm in the wrong place. Let me find the right place. 51's correct? Oh God, I've got to count here. I've got to count to 7. I'll have to count myself. So, page 51. Extensive offering practice. I practice to accumulate the most extensive merits with lights and other offerings composed by Kabje Lamas of Rinpoche. Motivation. The purpose of my life is not only to solve my own problems and gain happiness for myself, but to free all beings from their problems and lead them to all happiness, especially the state of full enlightenment. Therefore, I myself must first achieve complete enlightenment. To do this, I must complete the 2 accumulations, the merit of fortune and the merit of wisdom. Therefore, I'm going to make charity of these light offerings and make offerings of these lights to the merit field. Blessing the offerings. Om 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 Om. Think that you receive these offerings through the kindness of all sentient beings. Think these offerings are not mine. Make charity of all the offerings to the hell beings, predators, animals, humans, asuras, and suras. This is done to counteract the thought that these offerings belong to you. Think that you are making these offerings on their behalf. You and all other beings are going to make offerings to the Buddhas together. Generate great happiness at having accumulated infinite merit by thinking in this way. Also think that these offerings are given to every sentient being of each of the 6 realms, becoming whatever they need for both temporal and ultimate happiness. I actually make and mentally transform the offerings of humans and devas. May Samantabhadra clouds of offerings pervade the whole sky. Om Namo Bhagavate Vajrasa Pramadana Tatakateya Ahate Samya Sambuddhaya Tata Om Vajra Vajra Maha Vajra Maha Tejra Vajra Maha Vijra Vajra Bodhicitta Vajra Maha Bodhi Manda Pasam Kramana Vajra Saukam Avarana Vishnudana Vajra Soham. Om Namo Bhagavate Vajrasa Pramadana Tatakateya Ahate Samya Sambuddhaya Tata Om Vajra Vajra Maha Vajra Maha Tejra Vajra Maha Vijra Vajra Maha Bodhici Mahabodhi Mandopa Samkramana Vajra Kama Avarana Vishnudana Vajra Soha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vajrasawa Pramadana Tathagateya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Tayata Om Vajra Vajra Mahavajra Mahatejra Vajra Mahavajra Vajra Mahabodhi Chita Vajra Mahabodhi Mandapas Saukama Avarana Vishnudana Vajra Soha. By the power of truth of three rest, sublime ones, the blessings of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, the great wealth of completed two collections in the sphere of phenomena, pure and inconceivable. May these piles of clouds or offerings arising through transformation by the Bodhisattva, Iris, Samantha, Vajra, Manjushri, and so forth, unimaginable and inexhaustible, equal in the sky, arise in the presence of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions, be received. So first we make offerings to all the holy objects here in this place. Every single tanka, statue, stupa, scripture, picture, satsa, relic, and prayer wheel, by seeing them as inseparable from our own virtuous friend, who is one with all other virtuous friends. We prostrate, make the offerings, and it generates great bliss upon receiving in the holy mind of the virtuous friend. Then we make all these offerings both real and visualized to every single holy object in this country, all the statues, stupas, scriptures, pictures, all the centers, altars, every single altar in people's homes, the prayer wheels, satsas, any virtuous friend in this country. By seeing them as inseparable from one's own virtuous friend, we present these offerings many times, and in this way generate great bliss in all the holy minds. Prostrate, offer, and generate great bliss. We make all these offerings both real and visualized to every single holy object in India, including Bodh Gaya stupa, where 1,000 Buddhas descended. Also, we make offerings to all the holy beings in India, including His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and all other virtuous friends that we have there. By seeing them as inseparable from one's own virtuous friend, we make the offerings many times, and in this way generate great bliss in all the holy minds. Prostrate, offer, and generate great bliss. We make all these offerings both real and visualized to every single holy object in Tibet, including the jaw of Rinpoche and Lhasa that was blessed by Guru Shakyamuni Buddha himself, by seeing them as inseparable from one's own virtuous friend. We make the offerings many times, and in this way generate great bliss in all the holy minds. Prostrate, offer, and generate great bliss. We make all these offerings both real and visualized to every single holy object in Nepal, including Bodhinath Stupa and Swayambhunath Stupa and any virtuous friends in Nepal, by seeing them as inseparable from one's own virtuous friend. We make the offerings many times, and in this way generate great bliss in all their holy minds. Prostrate, offer, and generate great bliss. We make all these offerings both real and visualized to every single holy object and all the other Buddhist countries such as mainland China, Thailand, Taiwan, Burma, etc., by seeing all the holy objects as inseparable from one's own virtuous friend. We make these offerings many times, and in this way generate great bliss in all the holy minds, prostrate, offer, and generate great bliss. We now make all these offerings both real and visualized to every single holy object in the rest of the world. By seeing all the holy objects as inseparable from one's own virtuous friend, we make the offerings many times, and in this way generate great bliss in all the holy minds, prostrate, offer, and generate great bliss. We make all these offerings both real and visualized to all the 10 direction, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. By seeing all of them as inseparable from one's own virtuous friend, we make the offerings many times, and in this way generate great bliss in all the holy minds, prostrate, offer, and generate great bliss. We make all these offerings both real and visualized to all the 10 directions, statues, stupas, and scriptures, by seeing them as inseparable from one's own virtuous friend. Make the offerings many times, and in this way generate great bliss in all the holy minds. Prostrate, offer, and generate great bliss. We make all these offerings both real and visualized to Buddha Chenrezig by seeing Chenrezig as inseparable from His Holiness the Dalai Lama and one's own virtuous friend. Make the offerings many times, and in this way generate great bliss in all the holy minds. Prostrate, offer, generate great bliss. We make all these offerings both real and visualized to the 7 medicine Buddhas, which is the same as making offerings to all the Buddhas by seeing them as inseparable from one's own virtuous friend. We make the offerings many times, and in this way generate great bliss in the holy minds. Prostrate, offer, and generate great bliss. Then we make these offerings both real and visualized to the Bodhisattva Kshitigarbha by seeing him as inseparable from one's own virtuous friend. Make the offerings many times, and in this way generate great bliss in all the holy minds. Prostrate, offer, and generate great bliss. And then we can recite the actual light offering prayer 5 times together. These actually performed in mentally imagined light offerings, the manifestation of one's own innate awareness, the Dharmakaya. These clouds of offerings equaling the infinite sky, I am offering to all the gurus and the 3 rare sublime ones, and to all the statues, stupas, and scriptures, all of which are manifestation of the guru. I have accumulated infinite merit by having generated bodhicitta, having made charity to the sentient beings, and having made the actual light offerings to the gurus, triple gem, and to all holy objects of the 10 directions. Due to this merit, whomever I promised to pray for, whose name I receive to pray for, and whoever prays to me, principally servants, benefactors, and disciples, as well as all remaining sentient beings, living and dead, may the rays of the light of the 5 wisdoms completely purify all their degenerated vows and samaya right now. May all the sufferings of the evil gone realms cease right now. May the 3 realms of samsara be emptied right now. May all impure minds and obscurations be purified. May all impure appearances be purified. May the 5 holy bodies of wisdom spontaneously arise. These actually performed in mentally imagined light offerings, the manifestations of one's own innate awareness, the Dharmakaya. These clouds of offerings equal to the infinite sky, I'm offering to all the gurus and the three rare sublime ones, and to all the statues, stupas, and scriptures, all of which are manifestations of the guru. I've accumulated infinite merit by having generated bodhicitta, having made charity to the sentient beings, and having made the actual light offerings to the gurus, triple gem, and all holy objects of the 10 directions. Due to this merit, whomever I promise to pray for, whose name I receive to pray for, and whoever prays to me, principally servants, benefactors, and disciples, as well as all remaining sentient beings, living and dead, may the rays of the light of the five wisdoms completely purify all their degenerated vows and samaya right now. May all the sufferings of the evil-gone realms cease right now. May the three realms of samsara be emptied right now. May all impure minds and their obscurations be purified. May all impure appearances be purified. May the five holy bodies of wisdom spontaneously arise. These actually performed in mentally imagined light offerings, manifestations of one's own innate awareness, the Dharmakaya. These clouds of offerings equal the infinite sky, offering to all the gurus and the three rare sublime ones, to all the statues, stupas, and scriptures, all of which are manifestations of the guru. I have accumulated infinite merit by having generated bodhicitta, having made charity to the sentient beings, and having made the actual light offerings to the gurus, triple gem, all the holy objects of the 10 directions. Due to this merit, whomever I promise to pray for, whose name I receive to pray for, and whoever prays to me, principally servants, benefactors, and disciples, as well as all remaining sentient beings, living and dead, may the rays of the light of the five wisdoms completely purify all the degenerated vows and samaya right now. May all the sufferings of the evil-gone realms cease right now. May the three realms of samsara be emptied right now. May all impure minds and their obscurations be purified. May all impure appearances be purified. May the five holy bodies of wisdom spontaneously arise. These actually performed in mentally imagined light offerings, the manifestations of one's own innate awareness, the Dharmakaya. These clouds of offerings equaling the infinite sky, I am offering to all the gurus and the three rare sublime ones, and to all the statues, stupas, and scriptures, all of which are manifestations of the guru. I have accumulated infinite merit by having generated bodhicitta, having made charity to the sentient beings, and having made the actual light offerings to the gurus, triple gem, to all the holy objects of the 10 directions. Due to this merit, whomever I promise to pray for, whose name I receive to pray for, and whoever prays to me, principally servants, benefactors, and disciples, as well as all remaining sentient beings, living and dead, may the rays of the light of the five wisdoms completely purify all the degenerated vows and samaya right now. May all suffering of the evil-gone realms cease right now. May the three realms of samsara be emptied right now. May all impure minds and their obscurations be purified. May all impure appearances be purified. May the five holy bodies of wisdom spontaneously arise. These actually performed in mentally imagined light offerings, the manifestations of unknown innate awareness, the Dharmakaya. These clouds of offerings equal the infinite sky, I am offering to all the gurus and the three rare sublime ones, to all the statues, stupas, and scriptures, all of which are manifestations of the guru. I have accumulated infinite merit by having generated bodhicitta, having made charity to sentient beings, and having made the actual light offerings to the gurus, triple gem, and to all holy objects of the 10 directions. Due to this merit, whomever I promise to pray for, whose name I receive to pray for, and whoever prays to me, principally servants, benefactors, and disciples, as well as all remaining sentient beings, living and dead, may the rays of the light of the five wisdoms completely purify all the degenerated vows and samaya right now. May all the suffering of the evil-gone realms cease right now. May the three realms of samsara be emptied right now. May all impure minds and their obscurations be purified. May all impure appearances be purified. May the five holy bodies of wisdom spontaneously arise. Dedications. Gewadi nududa lama sange drogyane droa chiga malupa de salagopa sho changcho sencho rinpoche makye panam keguchi kyepa nampa mepaya pone gondu pelwa sho. Due to these merits, may whatever suffering sentient beings have ripen on me right now. May whatever happiness and virtue I've accumulated, including all the realizations of the path, highest goal enlightenment, be received by each hell being, predator, animal, human, asura, and sura right now. Having dedicated in this way, we have accumulated infinite merit to rejoice. precious, sublime thought of enlightenment, the source of all success and happiness for myself and all other sentient beings, generated without even a second's delay. May that which has been generated increase more and more without degeneration. Due to all the merits of the 3 times collected by me, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and all other sentient beings, which are empty from their own side. May the eye, which is empty from its own side, achieve enlightenment, which is empty from its own side. And lead all sentient beings who are empty from their own side to that enlightenment by ourselves alone. Whatever white virtues I have thus created, I dedicated as causes enabling me to uphold the holy Dharma of scripture and insights, and to fulfill without exception all the prayers and deeds of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 3 times. By the force of this merit in all our lives, may I never be parted from Mahayana's 4 spheres, and may I reach the end of my journey along the paths of renunciation, bodhicitta, pure view, and the 2 stages. Special dedication prayers. With Lama Tsongkhapa as our direct guru in all our future lifetimes, may I, my family member, and all other sentient beings never be separated from the complete, pure path praised by all victorious ones. Due to the merits of myself and others, may the victorious teachings of Lama Tsongkhapa, Losang Dragpa, reflect for a long time. May all the centers and projects of the FPMT immediately receive all the conditions necessary to preserve and spread these teachings. May all obstacles be pacified in the FPMT organization in general, meditation centers in particular, all our activities to preserve and spread the Dharma, particularly Lama Tsongkhapa's teachings, cause these teachings to continue without degeneration and to spread in the minds of all sentient beings. May those who have sacrificed their lives to benefit others through this organization have long, healthy lives, and may all their activities please the virtuous friend. In all our lives, may we always be guided by perfectly qualified Mahayana virtuous friends. May all their wishes succeed immediately in accordance with the holy Dharma. Long life prayers? Yes? No? Can we? Beg your pardon? I don't know. I mean, what's His Holiness? Gangri one? Jigten? None of us have books, so you guys will have to lead it when I mess it up. Jigten kandi tangde ma lupa angle shungwe sampa yi chi no Padre sume tenzin ya so yutse chanchi tuche lun dru sho je sundu shu pe che che sa se gang chen ten zhu chan na pemo ten zin ya so so what is so true true